that comes along, including the fact that we do have a trade today in the NHL. Defenseman Tyler Myers heads to Dallas for a second in 2027 and a fourth in 2029. We also had a trade in the NFL. We'll get to that here in just a moment. But in the NHL tonight, 5 games across the league. 2 of them are at 7. The Devils host the Leafs, and Vegas is in Detroit versus the Red Wings. Then at 10, 3 games. Carolina at Vancouver. The Ducks hosting the Islanders, and the Blues, they're out west versus Seattle. Now to the NFL, and while it may be trade season in the NHL, the NFL has the biggest move of the week so far. The LA Rams acquiring Chiefs All-Pro cornerback Trent McDuffie for a 29th overall pick this year, a 5th, a 6th, and a 2027 third round pick. And then the Cowboys, they're restructuring both quarterback Dak Prescott and wide receiver CeeDee Lamb's contracts to get under the cap. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones on Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
Schopp and the Bulldog.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody?
Monday, Tuesday, hump day is halfway. It's Mike Schopp.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
And the Bulldog.
Hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on. I know you can hear me.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo!
On WGR.
Hump day!
Sports Radio 550. Gonna be there in an hour, coming in the van.
Hump day. Shorts day. Not egregious, right?
No, I don't think it's egregious.
Thank you. You're the one person whose opinion on this I need your support.
You're still
Respect.
You're still trying pretty hard, but it's not. It's. I could understand feeling shorts today.
Oh,
it's the nicest day in a long time. I think, right? It's warm
years.
and sunny.
It's the nicest day in years.
We've had the sunny, clear day, but it's been really cold. This is the best combination of the two so far. Warm, sunny.
Very Mario Williams-esque without the.
Well,
that was a lot hotter.
We need another 20
warmer.
degrees, maybe. It was like in the 70s.
Right around now, though, right?
Yeah, around this time.
Combine,
yeah,
and
free agency.
free agency.
It was free agency, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like within a week or so is when that would have been.
I never bought Buddy Nix that beer.
For getting us all all those days of.
We were on. Well, I guess you could have looked at it that way too. Maybe we could have bought him 2, but
right.
We were on from a bar. And Buddy Nix called in. We talked to Buddy Nix after that trade, or signing rather, happened. And one of us said something like, if you walked into this place right now, you definitely drink for free.
Yep.
And that never happened.
I recall being out 2 days in a row around then, and I think the signing did happen during one of them. I remember we were at a place in Cheektowaga, and then we were at a place by the stadium on a Friday. It was the tournament was going on. Bonaventure was playing maybe Florida State.
Oh, wow.
On a Friday, we were at
yes,
O'Neill's is the name of the place now.
Right on the corner.
I don't know what it was called then. It might have been called O'Neill's then.
It was called Schopp's.
Okay.
After that day, they changed it.
But I remember being there on a Friday, and on Thursday we were like Union Road in Cheektowaga somewhere, and every break I would walk outside, and I just couldn't believe how nice it was. Like March 11th or 12th or somewhere in that range, and it just felt like July.
It was early, like low 80s those days, right?
Yeah, it was incredible.
And everybody was in love. And then I remember hearing on the radio someone say that all the fruit was going to die. And then I felt bad about it. It was very bad for the fruit trees.
There's always a downside.
There is. There is always a downside.
Yep.
Not to dwell on that aspect of life, but there is always a downside. And I heard somebody say, have your fun, this is amazing, but this is really bad for the fruit.
You're going to be paying more for fruit.
Yeah. So I'm sorry to have missed yesterday. I was off Monday. The 2 days were very similar for me. Basically just sort of sitting around at home and coughing and blowing my nose for
Good
2
times.
days.
Yeah, fun.
But Monday was planned for that. I took a day to be able to do that, and enjoy it. And yesterday was more. And yesterday was was unexpected. Turns out, really, it's the same. What was the lust level?
Oh, extremely
for
high.
Robert Thomas.
I didn't hear this. Owen was at the game, so and he told me he didn't notice it, but I saw someone, I don't remember who, tweet that during the game there was a Robert Thomas chant at some point in the arena.
It was very faint.
Very faint.
And then Vegas scored, and it kind of
Oh, I see.
That.
But I heard that reference. I thought, like, well, I've done my work for the day. Like I
You're taking credit.
I talked about Robert Thomas for 3 hours straight, right up to pregame.
Really?
Pretty much. Yeah. I thought it was a super exciting idea. And Mike, you wouldn't phone call like people talking about the Sabres excitedly.
Well, people talking about the Blues apparently.
I guess. I mean, but the idea of the Sabres making a big swing like that. So. I went hard at it. I was extremely energized by it.
What were you prepared to give up?
Not Owen Power.
Okay, well,
so if
deal breaker?
If that is the walk away,
I agree.
Really, any of the any of those. Speaking of being home coughing, any of those those top 4D. I've said it repeatedly. You know what I'm about to say. It's as close to a superpower as the Sabres have. That is the one thing I would not want to mess with. So it makes sense to me that they're also talking to the Blues about Justin Falk or Colton Parayko for third pair if they're not going to disturb those top 4. That would be a walk away for me. And I don't think there's any really talking me into it because I just don't think you could slot. Justin Falk has been that level of defenseman in his career for most of his career. I just don't think he's that anymore, and nor is Parayko. And so, there's some trade-off if you're trading from strength and getting, something up that's up top going to help you a lot, which Thomas certainly should and would. You can maybe try to balance that out, but I can't get there.
Are you reading the media reports on this any certain way? Like who's mad at the other? Is anybody who's to blame? To put it some way for there not being a trade?
I haven't thought hard about if someone who is. I think I kind of need you for that. Who's motivated to tell Chris Johnston or Darren Drager or Jeremy Rutherford what's going on there. I think the Blues, if they are eager to sell Robert Thomas and want to max out what they're going to get in return, which any team should, especially with a 26-year-old 80-point-a-year centerman, then I think it behooves them to hey, here's what the Sabres couldn't beat. They didn't want to include this guy. If you're out there and have some version of this guy, you're Detroit or Montreal or other teams that are in this mix with the Sabres that could be looking to upgrade, then come to the table. I don't think the whole thing has to be dead. I know yesterday it was we had a torrid affair with it for 3 hours. And, it kind of cooled off this morning. That's how it reads. But until I saw Jeremy tweet this, and I totally agree. Until the player is either traded somewhere else or, the trade deadline passes, the Sabres might have the best offer on the table, and the Blues could still end up taking it. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they're still reportedly engaged because of this defenseman point, if that turns into one big trade that still doesn't involve one of those top 4 defensemen, all the better. Because I think you can just have one transaction and one-stop shopping, get done everything you want to get done.
Why is it that all the Sabres' biggest work seems to happen through the St. Louis Blues? Why is it always the St. Louis Blues for this? Isn't it? Doesn't it seem like that a little bit? Ryan Miller.
Miller, of course.
O'Reilly.
O'Reilly was that.
Is that it, actually? Maybe the whole list?
That's kind of it, yeah. But still, those are 2 of the most significant trades in the last 10, 12 years. Miller was 14, so it's 12 years ago now.
The Sabres have not been to the playoffs since.
No. But, seeing as
that's going to change.
I think that's,
93%?
100% that's going to change.
93%?
Yeah.
You mean?
I like it. I mean, do you need the whole spiel from me here? You want to get caught up all the way? Like I think
seems selfish for me to say yes.
I think this team. I don't want to bore our listeners if they already know all this from me saying it repeatedly yesterday. I think getting something to cover yourself in the event of a Josh Norris injury makes a lot of sense. Like if you think you got a chance to make noise in the East, I don't think you need Tage Thompson, Robert Thomas, and Josh Norris as your top 3 centers. It's kind of nutty. There's only 2 spots to go around. Tage probably goes to the wing if everybody's healthy. But much like Ottawa last year divesting themselves of Josh Norris, I would understand if the Sabres feel spooked. Like we have a lot of runway here. The East is relatively wide open. There's only 2 teams that I think on paper absolutely have to outclass them, and I don't even think that's a blowout, Carolina and Tampa. So
look how they've done against Tampa.
Right. So and even Carolina last time in there, they got goalie. They played great. They were the better team.
Yep.
So I wasn't expecting that level of interest in a move like that, but if it's Norris insurance, which might be a sloppy way to put it, they're very similar players to me. This Thomas and Norris. 200-foot players, very good skaters, just very good high-end all-around players.
Mm-hmm.
Like not superstar level players, but
about the same age.
Yeah,
maybe
same draft. I think they were drafted 1 pick after one another.
17.
In 17. So I like it for that. Provided Thompson is okay moving to the wing, if that's would be the outcome. But I love that the Sabres are not sort of treating this spring as, well, we're going to get in and let's just take our time and trust the kids and, we'll build up to the point where we're winning rounds and becoming a contender.
This is as far as we know.
Right. Like if they're in on a player like Robert Thomas, trying to trade a bunch of futures and not touch their NHL roster in doing so, what they're telling you is, we think we can do something this year now and we're going to try to do it. Which I respect the hell out of.
Me too.
Because sitting back, you just never know how any year is going to go, injury, who knows? So
think of 06.
Right.
I mean, that's as close as they've almost ever been. And they hadn't been to the playoffs in 5 years before that. 1 season was canceled. But still, post Hasek, what did they accomplish? Nothing. And then they got to that. I mean, they didn't trade for anybody, right? There was not this move, anything close to this move. Right. I'm not saying that, but that's to your point about sort of ramp up. I don't believe in a ramp up.
You just never know when it's going to be your best shot, and what you don't want to have happen is you're conservative because you're protecting the future to a fault, and your best opportunity goes by the boards. Like, I don't know how open the East will be year over year. It feels like it hasn't been this open in many, many years. It's hard to pay attention because the Sabres were always in the same spot in the standings, but the top 3 in the division seemed completely unobtainable for quite a few years here, like maybe half of the drought, if not more. Like Tampa, Boston, eventually Florida, Toronto. You just had these teams that were squatting on the top spots in the division, and that's just not the case now. The Rangers are in last place. They're not a powerhouse anymore. The Penguins are in second place in their division, and I respect the hell out of the year they're having, but that's not a powerhouse team anymore. They've got powerhouse names, but it's not a team that just blows you off the ice.
Not even close.
That team does not exist in the conference, I don't think. Tampa is probably the closest to being that, and the Sabres just smashed them in their place last Saturday.
Well, I suppose. Boston, from the past 5 to 10 years, the Bergeron Bruins, the Leafs the Bruins are in a playoff spot or just about.
Yep,
they're right there.
Yep.
But, yeah, they're not as daunting. Florida does not exist. Toronto really does not exist. So I think it's a little bit of a perception thing where these teams, because they had been winning for so long and, they're a little bit scary.
Yeah.
That, you might just want to say, we've had these conversations before the year the Sabres finished 1 point out. Like, well, they wouldn't have won anyway. No one knows that. No one ever knows that. Even when it's teams like that, you still don't know.
Right.
And this team is good enough to justify what we're talking about, I think, easily. And if you want to even bring in the East in all this stuff about who's maybe not that good or beatable like that, then I think you can. But I think it's kind of always like that. Just goalie gets hot, power play gets hot, you can go miles. And that's true of this team, easily. I'm curious for, as premature as this is, what they're going to do about the net if they make it.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody rotates.
Not in the playoffs, no. Maybe you rotate if you lose game one.
Yeah,
right?
you pivot.
And you pivot to the other guy. But usually you start the guy that I think you can run with in the playoffs.
Who is that for them? We don't know yet. If it were tonight, well, let's say not tonight because they played last night, and then you can tell me.
Right, it would be Luukkonen's turn.
If it's Saturday,
yeah,
I don't know.
I really don't know either. I think it's close. I am probably going to lean Luukkonen, but they've each got what do we got here? 21 games left after last night, so each guy will get maybe 10 games. Ideally, if they both stay healthy. I don't know. Maybe they'll mix a Colton Ellis game in there somewhere just to keep him fresh if they need him for something. But either way, you've got enough games, I think, to make that decision. And right now, I would be a coin flip. I think there are merits to both guys. All you've got on Lyon is that he started for the Panthers in the playoffs 3 years ago, went 2 games, got benched, and then they made the finals. That's his playoff experience. I think, anyway, as a number one. He may have been on other teams that were in, so I don't quote me on he's only played those 2 games. But, as a starter, that was his shot, and it didn't go great, and, he got replaced and never played again. I'm not saying that has to happen here. Luukkonen's never done it, obviously.
I know that I don't care about playoff experience.
Right.
My whole team is lacking in
right.
playoff experience, and I want to like that about them. They don't have playoff experience. Usually, almost always includes losing in the playoffs, right? Most teams lose, so I'm not worried about it. This is so 2006. I don't know that this team is as good as that team. It's 20 years. Forgive me if I'm not completely ready with data on the 2 teams, but last night, the vibes are great. The standings look great. They're right there. And so you've got a lot to like here. The fact that it's new again is even better. That's fun. But when I watch them win games like last night, I think they got the one bounce, the first goal, they get that bounce and and Vegas doesn't. Shot attempts were equal. They weren't really outplayed, but they weren't superior either.
No, I thought they were for the front. They went up 3-0. I thought they should have had the Tage Thompson hat trick bet in night because they're gonna boat race this team.
That did not happen.
It turned around on a dime, and almost from there, I felt like it was the most hanging on in a game I've seen them have to do. They've won a lot of games protecting late leads, getting the empty netter. They didn't get an empty netter last night, but they've managed those games very effectively. Last night was the longest duration that it felt like they were doing that for. They just
hanging on.
They're hanging on. I don't know if they talked after the game. I didn't see anything referencing this in the post-game comments, but the Olympic break, 3-game road trip, first game home. No, they weren't out in some other time zone, but it just looked to me like they were slow in the back half of the game. They just were not fast anymore, and I think maybe their legs abandoned them. And so, they're having the kind of year where you win a game that way and you give them credit because maybe they weren't anywhere near their best. But they still managed to beat a good team and pick up another 2 points. But it was that was as nervous as I've been in one of these one-goal third periods in a long time because I just thought they were really on their heels.
Well, not that you or anyone would care, but I've got my own framework for measuring my level of interest in this. Mm-hmm. I don't have lucky pants yet.
Okay.
I'm wearing shorts. Maybe these are lucky shorts.
There's still time.
There might still be time, but in 05-06, my wife and I bought season tickets in December that year because, it was like a fire sale off the canceled year, and we went to every game, no kids, no real responsibilities at all.
Right.
So we went to every game, and that brought out.
It's like a little,
the lucky
it's
stuff.
such a little sweet pocket of life where you have a career, you're making money you can live on, and you don't yet have anything else that's really tethering you to it. Like that is, well, those are days.
Jeremy tweeted this morning about the bar that's now closed that you went to watch them in the playoffs last time. And I'm like, yeah, oh, that's right, bars.
Right?
Wow. I don't even know if they were open or closed or anything anymore because I don't know if anything's open anymore. But that's, that was that time in my life too. So, where was I?
Your level of
my framework for measuring my level of interest. I'm not at like lucky stuff. I'm not a season ticket holder anymore, but I got to this point today, and it turns out I was paid off for never deleting emails.
Okay.
The hockey playoff pool that I used to run.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right?
That's out there.
So I thought of it, and I texted Greg Bauk. Like, I think maybe this is the year we bring back the playoff pool because, I'm thinking to myself, I will watch the playoffs this year, at least for a couple of weeks, So I did a search on my email for the playoff pool. There they are, 2017, people sending in their lineups. And I needed that to remember exactly what the format was 8 years ago. I'm not sure I've done it ever since. I know in recent years, well, that's 9 years ago. I know in recent years I haven't bothered with it. But I do have email from 9 years ago, 18 players, 2 points for a goal, 1 for an assist, how much it costs. And I think I'm only 6 per team max.
Right. I remember.
I think I'm up for it. I know in 2006, it was somebody else's pool. The first year I ever did it, it was somebody else who ran it. I think maybe in Canada. I wish I knew right now as we're talking on the air who it was. I could be reminded. But that year, 2006 playoffs, I just loaded up on the Sabres because I felt like nobody else was going to do that. Mm-hmm. So Briere, Connolly, Drury. Connolly goes out in the second round. Yep. But like it was mine if they won one more game. Nobody had Edmonton, 8th seed in the West.
Yep.
It was mine. Look, it was theirs. It was their cup. It was my cup. If they won one more game.
Your
but
pool
that's really high on the meter for me.
Yeah.
Like how interested I am. If I'm going to run the playoff pool again, then I'm pretty damn interested.
Yeah. Mine is I would measure mine by my ability to do a 3-hour show entirely about a player that most of the audience had never heard of before yesterday afternoon.
Yeah. Well, congrats to you on that.
Which is what I managed to do. With a lot of input. I mean, it was kind of stunning.
I think, I wasn't here to partake, but I think what you might get is less opinions from Sabres fans on Robert Thomas, quote Robert Thomas, than opinions on who they think is tradable. Owen Power is a pretty much a lightning rod, I think.
I think so.
For
There's
that.
definitely people out there that want him off the team, and I
want him here.
I don't understand it at all. I understand it. I just don't think it's right. I think he is cursed. This is a lifetime of watching hockey and talking about hockey. He is cursed by being a big man who's not mean. And it undoes almost, well, for some people anyway. I don't think this speaks for even the majority of the fan base. But the people who are mad that he's not mean, he can do no right. And so you just don't see all of the very good plays he makes all game long. And you're just there to say, like, why didn't he tie that guy up or punch someone in the face? And I just think that's kind of silly. I mean, I would like him to be meaner and tougher too. But he is a very important player to this whole thing. There's a reason why if they're walking away from St. Louis permanently because St. Louis needs Owen Power in the trade, I say good for them. Good for the Sabres.
Me too.
Because I don't think you'd be I think you'd be hurting yourself, and you'd be creating to me a huge hole.
They just so rarely have games where they really get scored on. Goaltending's been really good.
Yep.
Defensively, they're really good, and that's why, like, this streak they're on now, they just never give up more than 2 goals in a game. Like, that's happening again. I say that now. We'll see what happens in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh did put 5 on them, right?
Yeah.
The last time they played. All right. Well, Shorts Day one day closer to the trade deadline. We're within 48 hours now. 803-0550 for your calls. Plenty of football. Justin Mello from Sports Illustrated will join us talking prospects. That'll be at 4 o'clock. And let's have a great day. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. We'll look for your calls after a break. This is WGR.
The Sabres find a way to keep possession. Nice drop pass as they gain. Thompson scores! Tage Thompson with some TNT on the Olympic gold celebration night back home. And it's 3-0 Sabres.
Eventually, the winning goal last night, Thompson. How were those towels for everybody? Can you use them functionally? Are they towel enough to be useful towels?
I think you'd rather they not be.
Well, okay.
Right? I mean, you don't
What do you do
want
with
to.
them?
You don't want to use it to, like, I don't know. You
Dry your armpits.
Spill a little Fresca on the counter. You're grabbing the Tage Thompson gold medal towel to wipe it up.
No, I think it wouldn't be for, like, the kitchen. I think it would be for the bathroom. If you were to use it.
Why?
Because you don't want it. Maybe there's no difference because you could put them in the washer either way. You don't want pop. You don't want to.
I don't know.
I doubt it would even be that effective.
I'm here to tell you that I
Spaghetti
think
sauce.
The absorption quality of the towel is irrelevant when you're getting a Tage Thompson gold medal ceremonial souvenir.
Okay.
The
absorption is not the point.
It's going in some room where you keep that kind of stuff and
Never see it again.
Maybe someday you go, oh, I remember that. That's it.
I mentioned the other day, I think maybe you missed that show, that I have a Penguins one of those.
Oh, like a rally towel of some
Yes.
kind from the Penguins?
From when I went to their playoff game against Ottawa.
Okay.
And they gave everybody yellow Penguins towels, which is in the pile of bathroom towels in my house, and it does get used.
Wow.
I don't think anybody else uses it, but I'm not above it. I'm not above,
right,
mopping
noted.
up the sink area with the Penguins towel. It does well enough.
All right.
Then it goes in the laundry pile, and you just keep going
All
around
right,
and
I
around.
got you. All right. Yeah, it doesn't seem like something I'd want to wash. Like, what if the gold medal imagery gets damaged in the wash or something? Or the
Well,
dryer?
of course
I
it
don't know.
will.
Right. So I think I want to not wash it. Therefore, I want to not use it. Therefore, I'm going to put it somewhere where I never see it again.
That's right. You're not going to frame it. What is the point of having it? The point of having it is that you were at the game where they gave them out.
Right.
That's the point of having it. But that wears off.
It sure
Normally.
looked like a pretty emotionally charged atmosphere in the building.
It looked
last night.
great.
Really,
Yeah.
really. I was getting my son was there in the press box. I think Zach was too. I think a whole crew of guys from the station were there. And
Look at us using our passes now.
I just was getting a lot of, oh my gosh, this building. It just was one of those nights where you're walking in and you feel it already. Which that has not come around in a long time. So pretty cool scene.
I tweeted last night a thought on that, which was, I just wondered what Eichel was thinking. Like, I mean, he's won a cup and now a gold medal. He's fine, right? He's fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know that he would have ever been in the building with so much energy. And when he debuted, it was very. It was a big deal.
Sure.
The building was full, and there was a lot of energy for him. 2015, of course. I mean, that's a long time ago, but he had moments almost always before Christmas.
But I would say outside of yeah, right. I mean, he's here when Skinner beats San Jose in overtime for 10 in a row. Like it was pretty loud then. But yeah, maybe prior to last night, the most raucous crowd he'd been a part of was the first time he came back.
Yeah,
the first time he came back was pretty raucous. It's different than last night. Last night was more celebratory, although there's still, within the game, of course, he's still hearing it.
But that one was those games are different, even if it's just the first Vegas game with him on Vegas, because and I think Eichel sort of let this be known about he was bitter about it.
Oh, yeah.
Like the reaction he got, and the game was meaningless to the Sabres.
That's right.
It was just for a fans outing to sort of take it out on him.
It was our opportunity to yell at him, and so we
Yeah.
yelled at him, and so it was emotionally charged. That's a very different thing than last night.
Yeah, I
for
mean
sure.
that mostly sucks.
Yeah, right.
And if you're the player, you don't have to have any respect for it.
It's coming from absolutely a place of negativity and anger.
Yeah, the power I think Jack would have felt that night. And then the next year where he scores a hat trick, I was at both of those games. And like the power you would get from being booed. I think
Yes, I think you still love it. Yeah.
I think there's a lot there. what a sign, what a signal that is. But the game doesn't matter. And that's what made last night different for, this, because like this is actually happening now. And, maybe he's sort of not happy about it necessarily, but, impressed or like, all right, maybe you finally got there. It's not a cup yet. It's not
right.
It's not winning rounds and
we're a long
anything
ways
like that.
still, yeah.
But
that's all. That to me, that's
finally,
all on the horizon right now. But it's certainly not a certainty or anything.
for the first time since he was like out of middle school, the Sabres are good.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I wonder what he thinks about that.
He said all the right. He was talked. I think he talked the day before. I don't know if it was before the game yesterday or they were in town a day early. I just know I saw clips of him talking, and he said he was extremely mature and polite about it all. Like good, the guys that I know, there's not that many of them anymore, but like Tage Thompson and Rasmus Dahlin and people behind the scenes and yada yada. I mean, he just he was an adult about everything. There was no bad blood from his side. Still. And, and I was glad to see that the ceremony went off with he and his teammate Hannafin and Thompson, and that was cheering. And if you want to boo him after that, great, knock yourself out. And plenty of people partook in that.
Mm-hmm.
So all in all, like, it was a great night. But you're right. It is emotionally charged in a way. Like, I wasn't in there last night, but I believe people who are telling me that it felt different. It felt bigger. It's the gold medal thing. It's Eichel's back, and it's the first home game after this Olympic break, and they've won 3 in a row coming into it, and just, they're looking like a wagon again. It's just the time of the year. All these things are just sort of coming together all at once. The trade conversation, I think, can be energizing for a fan. To hear that they're thinking or even efforting, even if they don't get it done, they're thinking of trying to add, a high-end offensive player to their mix, even though that's not identifiable as like a real shortcoming of theirs.
803-0550 for your calls. Stephon Diggs released, or will be released, reportedly, by the Patriots.
Free agent idea of the day?
I guess. I watched a couple of minutes of Steve Palazzolo and Sam Monson talking about the Bills this morning. I did that thing where I pushed play on Twitter, and then I left Twitter and it stopped.
Oh.
Instead of like opening up a new Twitter. So I only caught part of it. I didn't go back to it. No offense to those guys. I love those guys. They're great to listen to. They were talking about the Bills, and I think Steve brought up Diggs just in passing, and Sam might have said, well, they're not going to do that. And that's right, isn't it?
I think probably.
Is there a 0% chance the Bills would? It's not zero. It's not zero.
I wouldn't put 0 on it. I might get to like barely 10. But I would never say 0, because we don't really know exactly why they parted when they did the way they did, and you can assume certain things about how amicable or not amicable that whole situation was, but you don't have to be right. And so, opportunity, the money, whatever, like I wouldn't say 0, but I wouldn't go much higher than 10.
Well, the key people, of course, are Allen and Brady. And if there was anything negative about him from them, that's probably
then
the
it's
end
a
of
0. Yeah, right.
If it got weird or worse between the quarterback and the wide receiver, then I guess that's probably that. And I don't need the Bills to I don't even want them to bring back Diggs. I like rooting against Diggs. I'm enjoying that. But remember, Brady recalibrated the Bills' offense with Diggs on the team.
Right.
He took over and Diggs was on the team, and that was kind of like the end of Diggs.
And Shakir started getting more targets than Diggs, and the running game was emphasized. And yeah, it was Diggs's target share no longer looked like that of a number one receiver.
And that was 3 years ago and an ACL injury ago.
Right.
So probably it's a no. The guy that they brought up, Steve and Sam, for the Bills was Ayuk. And I don't know like what that would cost in a trade. Like could the Bills outbid the NFL for Brandon Ayuk? He's under contract. It's a big contract. It's not just like a free agent. It's not, you don't do this on a whim. They'd have to be unless there's some other reason to think this wouldn't be how it works. But they'd have to be the most interested team in Brandon Ayuk because he's probably someone that San Francisco wants to be rid of.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about that.
Right.
I thought I had heard there's a lot, I think, to uncover there because didn't they go after some guaranteed money that they'd already paid him or something? I wonder how cumbersome it is for either party, San Francisco or the team bringing him in. Just how tough that contract is to swallow and just how much maneuverability you have around it. You could absolutely – I don't think it should cost you – this really depends on what the contract entails. What is tied to him and what am I taking on if I do it? That always mitigates cost. The less financial burden I'm taking off your hands, the more I pay you, right? The more financial burden I'm removing from you, San Francisco, then the less that I have to pay you in draft asset or player asset, right? So it shouldn't cost. Maybe even in either case, he's not playing there ever again. You could just wait to see if they release him. So I would think a day 3 pick would get their attention.
My guess would be the 3rd round.
Okay.
Because I think there would be interest in him. I doubt that I don't know, but I would guess that the 49ers don't need to get to a point where they can just cut him. Because I think teams, what's not to like? I mean, maybe you've just got a A1 level head case or something, on the field, there's a lot to like.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure what is negative about him on the field.
Well, the thing is, I think what usually hurts guys more than anything is if they break the football code in some way. Right, and that's basically what Ayuk has done.
He quit.
He quit. He ghosted them. They had no idea in season if he was trying to come back and help them or any. It was just a mess. And I think when you've got that on your resume, I'd be surprised if it was as much as a 3rd round pick. Okay. But I could be wrong. I think a 3rd round pick would definitely get their attention. But I don't think I would hope you wouldn't have to pay that because. You're taking a shot. The guy's going to look you in the eye, tell you, "No, I'm good. I love football. I want to be here. I want to come help the Bills win a Super Bowl." But you don't know what you're buying. You haven't lived with him, and San Francisco just went through a freak out with him. So I think that should definitely mitigate what you pay for him. But I'm not ruling him out. I wouldn't rule him out. I'd want to do all my work and find out what exactly his problem was.
Last full season in 2023, 1,300 yards and 7 touchdowns. Big yards per catch. He's interesting. I guess our difference is how much interest, how many teams would want to try out Brandon Ayuk, pay the rate and see what he can do. I think it'd be a few. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. We'll talk draft with Justin Mello, Sports Illustrated coming up in about 20 minutes. Lots of Sabres today, too. Next game tomorrow night in Pittsburgh. This is WGR. High praise. Coming up in just about 12 minutes, our guest today, Justin Mello from Sports Illustrated, talking about the Combine and the draft. Combine is over, so it's that much tougher to find something to watch, you know. But here is an idea, something to fill the void tonight at 10.
I thought your fantasy podcasts were earlier in the evening then.
That's funny. I missed last night, too. I missed this and that last night. Honestly, like, that's one where I sit at home, and it's pretty easy going, but not to sound like I'm trying to give myself credit. I think you're the same way. It doesn't look good.
To do that if you miss
work and then
do another alternate. Yeah, right.
That's what I told them, so I called in on both. No, the World Baseball Classic.
Oh, okay.
Is tonight.
Hey, now.
At 10. Throw out the record books, Taiwan versus Australia. I think that's the game. What do you think? Who do you like?
It's a little late for me.
Who do you like?
I did dig in last night. I was so, this whole Sabres thing is it's just so different now. You know, like they win and you want to sort of, it's a little like after a Bills game, except it's 3 times a week, you know, sort of like on social media, what's everybody saying? What did Lindy say? What are the players saying? What are the fans saying? You know, whatever. And that runs you up to like, okay, the late games have started. All right. Montreal, San Jose. Holy cow. What a fun game that was to watch. I only made it through the first period. It was only 1-1. It ended 7-5.
Really?
Yeah. Just speed, skill, great. Anyway, I'm not watching a baseball game at 10 o'clock. I mean, if I'm watching anything at 10 o'clock, it'll be another hockey game.
It's actually Chinese Taipei in Australia.
Oh, well, that changes everything.
From Tokyo.
I'm a big Chinese Taipei guy.
We'll see who has the... I've always known that. We'll see who has the crowd.
Where's the game being played?
Tokyo.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how
Do Australia fans travel for the World Baseball Classic?
Geographical rivalries of that region. Don't have it.
I don't either.
Yeah.
So then you watched the Canadians, so you just finished the Traders this morning, probably is what you did. Not watch it last night like I did?
Yeah, don't tell me what
Traders
happened.
Australia.
Yeah.
Speaking of Australia,
Season
2 of Traders Australia. What a season, Bulldog. I don't have to tell you. I know that you're also like listening for the post game, watching the reunion shows. I think you're that into it. I've never been that into a reality show to watch the reunions, but good for you if you are. We'll talk NFL draft next. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
It's another busy day in the NFL, and while maybe trade season for the NHL, it's the NFL that has the biggest move of the week so far. The LA Rams are acquiring Chiefs All-Pro cornerback Trent McDuffie for the 29th overall pick this year, a 5th, a 6th, and a 2027 third-round pick. And then coming down in just the last half hour or so, the Patriots are going to be releasing wide receiver Stephon Diggs after just one season with the team. This release will be made official when the new league year begins next week. Now to the NHL, and the rumors from yesterday have cooled down. The Sabres and their reported interest in Robert Thomas of the Blues. This coming from TSN insider Darren Drager, who was first to report, but also did say today that the Blues and Sabres could still be in talks going forward. That could be with defenseman Colton Parayko or Justin Falk. The deadline is on Friday at 3 p.m. We'll keep you up to date if any new information does come down. But we did have an NHL trade today as defenseman Tyler Myers heads to Dallas for a second-round pick in 2027 and a fourth-round pick in 2029. And tonight in the NHL, there are 5 games across the league. 2 of them are at 7. The Devils host the Leafs, and Vegas is in Detroit versus the Red Wings. Then 3 games at 10. Carolina at Vancouver. The Ducks hosting the Islanders, and the Blues, they're out west versus Seattle. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones. I'm Western New York's voice of the fan, WGR.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I have a leg injury and a foot injury right
A
now.
leg and a foot. Are they on the same
Side of my body.
side of your body?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Left.
What happened to you?
I got stung by a bee, and then I think I got stung by another bee.
Oh, come on.
I think I did.
When did this happen?
Last night.
Last night.
Last night. Who knew?
It's Mike Schopp.
Just never thought about getting stung by a bee at night.
I don't know.
But there would still be bees at night.
I guess.
Not to sound like the flat Earth thing. It would.
Well-
the bees just don't disappear when it gets dark.
Okay, but I've never seen one at night.
Well, it's dark.
And the Bulldog.
Maybe they would not be out at night, but you disturbed it, so it came out and said, "Hey,
Yeah, they weren't expecting me.
I'm in here trying to watch the Vietnam War on PBS, and you're what are you doing sitting down in the chair? This is my time."
You are not supposed to.
right,
This is our time.
right,
That's what the bee said.
right. So
On behalf of the other bees.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Speaking of bees, birds.
what about,
Maybe
what
you've
about
noticed
they're
they're around.
they're around.
There are some birds now hanging out. Remember where you sat when we did the show the day of the eclipse? Right
Sure.
outside my front door there.
Yep.
There's a birdhouse there. And today, a couple of them are circling, making plans. That's what they're doing.
Did the birds build their own house, or did you
No.
provide them the?
I have a birdhouse
You installed
that
a
they
birdhouse
use.
there. I
Yeah.
got you.
Mm-hmm.
Are they paying you at all?
Just in the joy I get
Oh,
from
wow.
seeing them and hearing their
I'm
little chirps.
So sorry for leading.
That's enough for me. I don't need money.
My fault.
With us now on the Western Hotline is Justin Mello, NFL Draft on SI. Through Sports Illustrated, Justin's been in the business of covering the draft for many years, and thank you for your time today, Justin.
Pleasure's all mine. You know, the NFL Combine in our rearview mirror, free agency next week. We're full steam ahead here on the NFL offseason, excited for what's coming next.
Yes, sir. What are a couple of the general takeaways you have from the Combine? What are 2 or 3 of the big stories?
Well, I thought some of the top prospects, the ones who made the biggest impressions, were the ones we were kind of banking on to do so. You know, if you ask me 3 players who impressed more than anyone else, I'd probably go, Jeremiah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame, Sonny Styles, the linebacker out of Ohio State, and Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end out of Oregon. If you had, looked at my top 100 big board pre-draft, or really any big board, those 3 are in the top 15 for most people, certainly, and the first 2 are no-brainer top 10 picks. But participation is down. There were a lot less participants in this year's Combine. I think that's a trend that's been emerging with each passing year as, prospects and agents try to take more control, if you will, of the pre-draft process and kind of taking it away from NFL teams, if you will. But other than that, I thought the main performers were kind of the players I expected to be the case.
What kind of feedback, if any, Justin, do you get on that last point there about guys opting out? I feel like, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, it was a bigger deal if a top quarterback or any top player, he's not going to run, he's not going to throw if it's a quarterback, whatever. It was a big deal, like, oh, you're making a bad impression. These are job interviews. I feel like it's just sort of generally accepted now that many of the top guys aren't going to do it and prefer, whether it's because of injury or just protected environment, want to do it on their own school's pro day or even their own thing outside of the school. What kind of reaction do you get from like NFL people about guys who skip it?
You're absolutely right about that. I can tell you with a sense of definitiveness that fans care way more about it than teams do, than general managers, scouting directors, you name it, head coaches. They're not bothered by it. When a top prospect opts out and chooses not to perform, it doesn't really change anything for them. It just doesn't. I mean, listen, most of their evaluation is based on the tape throughout the year. I think fans get this impression that the NFL Combine drastically alters a team's, pre-draft board. And it's just not the case. I'll tell you what can do that is the medical checks. Like the medical checks that most of us don't hear about, or the general public doesn't hear about, most of the time. That has a way bigger impact on a draft board than any 40 time, than any broad jump or anything like that. So teams have come to accept it. I mean, a ton of them will tell you, two of them stayed home this year, right? Like the Jags and the Rams, they didn't even go to the NFL Combine. I think most people who were there would tell you that the best part about being there is being there, right? Like it feels like everyone's there. The rumor mill, the bars at night, it's a small town. It's not a very big place. So everyone's kind of hanging out at the same, handful of places. The stuff that gets done, the trade talks that start, maybe a little illegal tampering in free agency, who knows, a couple whispers here and there. But, that's really the best part of Indy for these guys. It's not the on-field testing. That, generates all the headlines and captures our attention. We love watching the guy run a 4.27 40. And the NFL's capitalized on it too, right? Like they've made this more of a primetime event as the years have gone on. But no, teams don't care when one of the top guys opts out.
Justin, that point about the teams that didn't go is interesting to me too. And I can get it on a certain level. I can watch the whole thing. I think interviews can even be misleading because your biases enter in, and I can respect a team for not feeling like they need to go through that. But yeah, what you miss out on, not just like steak, but what you miss out on, from not having the opportunity as easily anyway to communicate with each other and what you might hear. I think you would know this probably from experience. Like, don't teams sometimes, not to put it in a certain way, but use the media to find out, like, the rumor mill and everything like that? Why wouldn't a team find it at least worth something to go and play that game?
It's incredibly interesting. And the Los Angeles Rams, they're the ones who kind of spearheaded this, right? Like they were the first ones, I believe, to stop going. And but by the way, they also don't have any top 30 visits. Like they don't bring any prospects to the facility either. And their reasoning behind that is we don't let that to cloud our judgment on a prospect. They are the literal definition of trust the tape. And listen, they're going to do their homework. They'll talk to coaches and janitors and whoever else to get character feedback. They just don't want to get it directly from the source. And they want to trust. Sometimes they'll say, well, we might bring a guy in. We might really like him. In fact, we might like him in person more than we like the player on tape. And we don't want that to allow us to sort of make a mistake.
Right.
And it's incredibly cutting edge. It's unique. But let's analyze the results a little bit too, right? They've done a pretty darn good job drafting lately, right? Like after Aaron Donald retired, they ever thought it was going to be a death blow to the defensive line. I mean, they drafted Braden Fisk. They drafted Kobe Turner. They drafted Jared Verse. They hit on everything they did to retool that defensive line, and they did it all through the draft. And they've gotten a lot of gems, Kobe Durant in the defensive backfield. So at corner and safety, they've done really well drafting there too. They drafted Kyron Williams in the 5th round. Puka Nacua was a day 3 pick. Like they've done an unbelievable job hitting on their draft picks. I probably wouldn't be the one to caution them to start doing things differently. And then with Jacksonville, they came from the Rams, right? Like the GM and James Gladstone, the head coach Liam Cohen worked there for a year or a couple years under Sean McVay in 2 separate stints. But they're adopting that model, right? And by the way, you talk about like the rumor mill. It doesn't sound like it hurt the Rams very much, right? They executed a blockbuster trade today. They wore it at the Combine last week, going to get Trent McDuffie, a star cornerback, for a first-round pick plus more. So they feel like they've gotten terrific work done in the draft. They've adopted this model. It's definitely worked for them according to the tangible results. And I guess they didn't miss out on the late-round bar conversation with the Kansas City Chiefs either, because they executed a major deal today.
Yeah, they managed to pull it off without eating shrimp the size of your fist. Somehow they pulled it off, so good for them. This is the first time we've been talking about this. Mike and I have been together here, Justin, for many, many years, 23 years, doing this show together. And the point about the interview process clouding your judgment has been made many times in this room.
I love it.
By Mike. Yeah. And I would tell you that almost every time I've heard the point made, I think of it in a negative connotation. In other words, I'm going to eliminate you because of your bad manners, or you didn't look me in the eye, or you didn't shake my hand the right way, or you weren't yes or no sir enough, or whatever kind of old school nonsense, right?
What you wear.
Right. But for the first time ever, I'm able to see a scenario where you could fall in love with a guy's personality, fall in love with his story, to the extent that you want him on your team because you're rooting for the guy, right? That happens with young athletes, with scouts all the time, I'm sure. You just get a crush on this guy. Man, you got to hear this guy's story, what he's been through. And that's not always the best way to evaluate guys either. I'm just admitting, I guess you could make a mistake on the I like this guy more than I thought I would because of the interview process, too. It's not just, he had his hat on crooked or something.
No doubt about it. In fact, I've got an example that I'm happy to share with you, at least a personal one. I should be embarrassed to share it, but I'd like to think, and it just goes to show you how hard this process is, I've interviewed upwards of 1,000 prospects, draft picks in these last 10 drafts. I've had a lot of experiences. I'd like to think I'm a pretty good judge of character. Happens to me. I fall in love with some of these prospects, and thankfully I'm not running a team because I would probably make some of those emotional decisions. But I can't remember what draft it was right now, but we're going about 6-7 years back. If you would have asked me and I did 150 interviews that year, give me your 3 favorites. Who was a guy that just blew you away with his personality and how polite he was? And I was asked this question that year, and I foolishly answered Georgia offensive tackle Isaiah Wilson. He was one of the nicest guys I interviewed during that pre-draft process. I don't know if you remember how Isaiah Wilson's NFL career went. Well, the Titans cut him about a year and a half into the process. They traded him, I think, to Miami, if I'm recalling correctly. About a year and a half to the process, because I don't know, he had about 13 run-ins with the law in that first year and a half. He started skipping meetings. He wasn't even showing up to meetings. He was napping in front of the head coach when they were in, he was a full-blown disaster. And the Titans, the GM at the time, has essentially come out and admitted he fooled us. He wasn't the same guy that he was, during the pre-draft process. And they blamed COVID for it a little bit. We couldn't bring him here for a top 30. I don't know that really made a difference because a lot of these guys, they're not stupid. They know this is the biggest job interview they'll ever have. How many times have you gone to a job interview and been on your best behavior, right? So that does happen, and sometimes it can lead to a colossal mistake, and that's what the Rams and the Jags have tried to remove from their processes, and the Titans probably wish they did the same before they spoke with Isaiah Wilson.
Good stuff. Justin Mello, our guest, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here on WGR. Let's talk Bills now, Justin. So I know you wrote recently, I think you did, it was referred to anyway, an idea for the Bills in their never-ending, well, I'm not sure it's their quest. It's our quest for them to find better talent at wide receiver. So Trey Lance has a brother, they say.
He sure does.
Sorry.
And he
Yes.
is. No worries. He sure does. And his name is Bryce Lance out of North Dakota State. And he posted some absolutely freakish testing numbers at the NFL Combine. So I had him as a borderline top 100 pick before the Combine, right? And then you go into it, and he leaps, what was it, like a 43 and a half inch vertical, something just totally outrageous. He put out a freaky performance out there. It was a 4.3 440, by the way, at 6'3", 204. Sorry, 41 and a half inch vertical and an 11'1" broad. He scored 18 touchdowns in 2024. It's an astounding number. He had about another 9 or 10 this past year. I posed the question for an article that's publishing tomorrow, but I don't think this is an outrageous question. How high can he go? A couple of years ago, a receiver from the same school, Christian Watson, put up similar numbers at the Combine. In fact, Bryce Lance actually run faster and jumped higher than he did. And they went to the same school, so you can remove the small school competition stuff, yada, yada. Similar level of production as well. And Christian Watson ended up going 40th overall. What does that do to Bryce Lance? TBD, not saying he's going to be a first-round pick, but those who are saying he's going to go, 90, 95th, 100, I wouldn't be so sure based on recent history. The production is there. The size is there. Straight line speed. He averaged like 20-something yards per catch, something outrageous. He is a big play generator, and there's a place for those guys. In fact, one of them, Alec Pierce in the NFL, is about to be the highest-paid receiver in free agency this year, assuming he actually hits the market a couple days from now. So there's absolutely a place for a guy like Bryce Lance. Wouldn't shock me. I think he's elevated his stock certainly into that day two conversation.
Well, maybe that's a place the Bills end up looking day two. Do you think 26 is a good value spot for receiver while we're here on the subject?
I think it is. I think they'll have some options there. Not saying all of these guys are going to be there, but
right.
I look at a guy like Omar Cooper Jr., the receiver out of Indiana, who is climbing draft boards rapidly, had a really good combine. I think he's established himself as a first-round pick. He's dense, thick lower half, creates yards after catch. Really, really good player with the ball in his hands. I look at a guy like Denzel Boston, who, by the way, I mocked to the Bills the other day, and I think I've got a bone to pick with Bills fans. Has the Keon Coleman pick hurt you guys that much? Because I couldn't believe how much negative feedback I got on the Denzel Boston thing, because he's a big, strong, fast wide receiver. Last I checked, those types are still in, right? But apparently I had one guy tell me, well, Josh Allen doesn't do well with big receivers. Everyone does well with big receivers, guys who can catch the ball, generate big plays. I understand the Keon Coleman thing hasn't quite met expectations yet, and it's looking like it's probably going to go in the direction of regret. But a guy like Denzel Boston doesn't mean Denzel Boston's very T. Higgins-like. The big-bodied guy, contested catch winner, but he also, I think, separates vertically. He's got some of the strongest hands in the class. Who hurt you, Bills fans? I think Denzel Boston would still be a good fit there. There's also Casey Concepcion, right out of Texas A&M, who I think's in that, late first-round mix as well. Dynamic, electric, game-breaking speed. Was a bit gadgety in 2024, but I thought this past year took a huge step forward as a legitimate receiver who ran a real route tree, especially in the short to intermediate areas. If you want the anti-big guy and you want to go in a different direction, Casey Concepcion might be the guy. Dynamic, game-breaking speed. Really good on special teams, too, if you want to use him there. Can return kicks and punts. Depends what type of flavor, I guess, the Bills are looking for at receiver. But I think there's, it doesn't have to be a one-size-fits-all. There's the bigger contested catch winners, but there's also the sort of, smaller, intermediate, short to intermediate, winners as well who can create yards after catch.
Maybe I should want to defend Bills fans on this one. Big, fast, good hands. Yeah, it sounds terrible. I don't think I want that combination of traits either. But, Coleman, I don't know, Justin. I don't know your opinion of him coming into the league. He was a controversial idea right from the start. Remember that draft process a couple of years ago? He had his fans and he had his detractors. And I'm not sure how many fans he has left, but he's still young. What did you think about him originally, and do you think there's still hope for him?
I did have my questions coming out, and a lot of them circled around the deep speed, right? The ability to kind of, separate. And I can't remember what his 40 time was, but if I recall correctly, it was pretty bad. And that kind of, generated a lot of conversation. It was low 4.6s even, if I recall correctly. But there was certainly some concern with the 40 time. And the bigger issue that I had with it is I thought that did reflect on tape. Going into the combine, I had circled what's he going to run, because on tape I did not think he was a very good separator. I thought he was maybe a little overly reliant on the contested catch opportunities. And probably not Bills fans anymore, but I think NFL fans in general have a tendency to sort of romanticize the contested catch winner because it looks really good. Isn't it fun when a guy climbs the ladder and mosses a defensive back and it embarrasses him and it makes all the highlight reels and we all, get out of our seats? It's even better than that. Not making contested catches.
Right, getting so open.
So much separation.
Right.
You're so open. There's no defensive back within, 6 yards of you, and I could make the throw, right? Like, that's what quarterbacks really want, right? They want a guy who's open, and they can just hit with an easy one. And, unfortunately, that hasn't been Keon Coleman. I thought the concerns were there. Now, Denzel Boston, he didn't run the 40 at the combine, so those questions do exist. But my personal evaluation, I got the impression on tape that he is a better separator than Keon Coleman was at Florida State. Now, to answer the latter part of your question, there's always hope when you're a young player. You're going into I believe this is year 3 for him.
Correct.
No book should be closed going into year 3, except Isaiah Wilson. That one was closed pretty quickly. But no book should be closed. Most books shouldn't be closed going into year 3. I think it's still very much open for Keon Coleman. I will say that I do feel a change of scenery might be best for all parties involved. I know the owner up there had some, pretty controversial things to say during one of the press conferences. It was kind of one of those moments where I think everyone in the room was saying, please stop talking. Yeah. Or they were thinking, you can't say it, but right. Please stop talking, please stop talking. That might have been on some people's minds who were sitting in that room.
Maybe even Brandon Beans.
Like it might have been even Brandon Beans, probably Joe Brady's. I think a change of scenery is probably best for all parties involved at this point. But never say never. Third-year player, I think there's a lot of natural ability there. Maybe Joe Brady was obviously there last year, but maybe as head coach figures out some different ways to use him, things they weren't doing with him in the past, and they could salvage this thing, but it certainly feels like it's headed in the wrong direction.
Justin Mello, our guest, Sports Illustrated. Justin, what's the best way to follow you and get your content?
Twitter, X, whatever you're calling it nowadays, @JustinM_NFL. I've got the NFL draft on SI, as you mentioned, a Sports Illustrated powered channel. We are covering the NFL draft extensively. Head over to my Twitter. Find the link. It's si.com/NFL/draft/on-SI. So a couple of slashes in there. If you Google NFL Draft SI, you should be able to come up with it rather quickly, or find the link directly on my Twitter page. Mock drafts, positional rankings at every position, top 100 big board, individual winners at every position at the combine, winners, losers, late-round sleepers, late-round gems who elevated their stock. We got a ton of content on there right now. And if you're not familiar with my prospect interview series, I do a series every year where I interview about 100, 150 draft picks. We are full steam ahead on that right now. In fact, I just got off the phone with one earlier today. Bit of a spoiler alert. I don't think this is out there yet. I'll be reporting it at some point soon. Just got back from a top 30 visit with the Bills. He was in Buffalo for 2 days. I don't think that's out there in the Twitterverse yet. It will be exclusively in my story, probably this Monday, I'm thinking. So head over to si.com/NFL/draft on SI and make sure you're up to date on everything that's happening in the NFL draft world.
Willing to squeeze in only a few seconds a take on Mike Washington Jr.?
Big fan. RB2 for me probably in this class. I think he established that at the combine. 4.33, ran the fastest 40. Excellent at the Senior Bowl. I think we all went into the combine wondering who the RB2 is, and I'm not saying it's for sure him, but I think he might have closed the gap. I think the early favorite was Jadarian Price out of Notre Dame. Jeremiah Love's backup. I love Mike Washington. Wouldn't shock me if he's the second running back off the board.
Thank you for your time, Justin. Love to do this again closer to the draft if you want.
Pleasure as always. You know where to find me.
Thank you. Justin Mello, who just ran down where you can sort of get more from him.
That's a lot of content.
He had a lot there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Washington is the running back who used to play for UB that went to eventually to Arkansas, New Mexico State, and then Arkansas, I think, and had a great combine. He's from the Syracuse area, born in Utica, I think. So there's one guy to follow. I'll save it to sort of push on Bulldog as an idea for the Bills. Because you got to be, with Bulldog, you got to be very careful when you bring up drafting running backs as a topic.
Yeah.
He can lose it.
Already, I'm at, you want to make a case that the Bills are going to take the second running back off the board?
Yes, I do.
What, are you high? What is wrong with you?
You've cracked the case. That's exactly why I want to do that. 803-0550 for your calls. Lines are open. Sabres, too. We will talk about their incredible season, really, right? Is that too strong? Look at all this. So we'll be eager to get back into that as well. And maybe you'll join us. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
Sin so long, all the fields are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and
WGR.com. Also coming up in hockey, of course, the trade deadline Friday at 3 p.m. and some potential news on that. The Maple Leafs look to be gearing up for a few moves as Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Scott Laughton, and Bobby McMahon all are being held out tonight versus New Jersey due to asset protection purposes. Puck drop for that game is at 7. And then defenseman Tyler Myers heading to Dallas for a second in 2027 and a fourth in 2029. And then staying with the league for their games tonight, one other at 7. It's Vegas in Detroit versus the Red Wings. Then 3 games at 10. Carolina at Vancouver. Ducks hosting the Islanders, and the Blues, they are out west versus Seattle. Then in the NFL, it may be the NHL's trade season, but the NFL has had the biggest move so far this week as the Rams are acquiring Chiefs All-Pro cornerback Trent McDuffie for the 29th overall pick this year, a 5th, a 6th, and a 2027 third-round pick. And then for the Patriots, they are releasing wide receiver Stephon Diggs after just 1 season with the team. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones on Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
You know, at this point now, it's like I love Indy. I've loved playing there. Great organization, great people in the city. You know, just a ton of support. I know we haven't been as good as we could be, and I know we can be. At this point, kind of earned the right to explore free agency, see what's out there, make a decision that's best for my career and for my family.
That is Alec Pierce, presumably the top free agent wide receiver, and his chances of getting to market, as they say, became almost a certainty, improved by the Colts news. Transition tag for Daniel Jones, and Pierce walks, apparently. Have never been that excited about him. Not really as wide receiver hungry as we all can be.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't really gotten there, like having to beat the world on bidding for Alec Pierce. No thanks.
Right. He's at the top of the class. I don't think he's, in my opinion, he's not a number 1 fully formed guy. He'd be perfect if you had that guy as a compliment, I think, because he's certainly, his yards per catch were outrageous. But somebody is, I'm going to guess somebody is going to regret what they give him. That seems like I feel like that's a safe bet. Somebody's going to pay him to be something, and he's going to be what he's been, but it's not going to be $25 million a year, which is probably what he's going to get on the open market.
Unless that team wins, and then it'll all be fine.
Right.
But will his stats reflect his value in terms of his contract? I kind of agree.
I think the likelihood of a team that's good being able to pay that, chances are the guy that gets the bag in free agency is going to a team with a lot of cap room. Those aren't all bad teams. New England's got a lot of cap room, for example, right? So maybe there is a spot where he lands where it's softer, but I feel like if you're going to ask him for a lot, you could be in real trouble.
803-0550 for your calls. Here is Isaiah with us. Hello.
Hey, gentlemen.
Hi.
I like to talk about, I love the Rams and how they do business. Using the eye test when doing drafting. I think we've gotten burned on some character guys. They come in with interviews and they fall in love with them. And I make the comparison on if Ed Oliver and maybe Jalen Carter was on the board, and I think they would pick Ed Oliver over Jalen Carter just because of, Jalen has character issues, some little trouble, but the talent is, through the roof, other than Ed, who's not a bum by any sense, but, he's better locker room guy. And I just think we've gotten burned by that. And I would like to maybe just trust the eye test on what you see in film instead of, trusting maybe the interview process.
Yeah, thanks. Like we were talking about before, you were probably listening to be inspired on this topic. I believe that I don't want to say eye test because I think there's much more to it than just that. But the idea that teams don't benefit from sitting in a room with the player is very counterintuitive If it can something be very counterintuitive, I mean, it just is. Whether it's teams or any career, any profession, it just doesn't feel. Why? It's a form. It's sort of a form of the eye test. It's not watching you play football, but it's sitting across a desk from you.
Yeah,
and
trusting
making judgments
that I can tell whether you're BSing me or not.
Yeah, and I mean, there can be those realities, but I think your biases, and this isn't something that I just have decided for myself, it's something I've read on, like how your biases influence those judgments, and often not in a productive way, not in a helpful way. So somebody who's very different from me, and I think, culturally, if you think about 20-year-old NFL prospects versus 50-year-old general managers, this would often be the case. I might just not get you. And
yep,
I think too often that can be a flaw in your process. But I don't know how. It's interesting that now we have two teams that are skipping, and it wouldn't be the only reason why, but it's probably part of it. I think when bringing this up, I don't know, 10 years ago, after reading about it for the first time, it's only met with derision. It's only met with people saying, like, what are you, clueless? Like, why wouldn't the interview be useful? And I think probably that's still most executives and most fans would think the same thing. Everybody goes through job interviews. Nobody just hires you without meeting you first,
And a lot of people think that they're very good judges of character.
In that, yes.
Right. And I think I feel like I when you make this point, I always want, like, of course I'm going to put my name on it. I'm going to trust my judgment that I'm the GM. And until having this conversation with Justin Mello last segment, I hadn't thought of it in a way where it could keep me from necessarily the best guy. That it could help me. It's not so much to avoid a problem as it is, am I over emphasizing? Am I falling for? I said it when we were talking to Justin. Am I falling for someone's story, and now emotionally I feel attached to this player? Like I want to help him see this through, kind of thing. And like I could see that happening to someone like myself. And I think as it pertains to the Bills, I think the biggest benefit of the doubt I could give Brandon Beane on his draft choices is this. I think culture was and has been. I don't know if it'll change now that McDermott's not there, but I know it was heavily emphasized. I don't know that I've heard a lot about Bill's DNA this offseason so far, right?
Good.
We used to hear a lot about it before, and maybe that's packed away because that was a McDermott thing. And what you could end up doing is leaving. I think the Oliver, who was the player from Jalen Carter, is a very good example. You could look at these two guys and feel like you trust the guy that doesn't have the bad resume, the guy that came across better in the interview. He's going to be better in my room.
Safer.
He's going to be safer. But in the end, did I draft the better player? Like, who is going to help me more on the field? Now, the fear is that a guy, Carter, had some red flags. Like, am I drafting someone who's going to be a problem for me? Is he not going to be available because he's going to get in trouble here or there or wherever, league suspensions, team discipline, whatever it is? I would say the Bills, maybe, it's possible anyway, with their focus on that part of it, that they overdrafted some of the guys they picked because of their impressions of the interview.
Yeah.
It certainly is possible. Anyone could do it. But the Bills, we know, flew that flag highly and proudly. And their results have been excellent even with that. But I wonder, have they missed? Like, is there a reason they have so many pretty good players and not enough, oh my God, this guy's a game wrecker players?
It might be true in a couple of cases. As interesting as Oliver and Jalen Carter is as a comparison from the caller, they are 6 years apart. It's not apples to apples.
Right.
But it's possible that there are some. They've also drafted guys with a little bit of a history, too. They haven't completely avoided that. It's, thirdly, and you might have just said this, something that might be different now. Because McDermott, at least outwardly, and everything about his reputation was connected to this, that he was so big on that. He wanted players that he thought he could trust. And maybe Joe Brady has a different, he's much younger than McDermott. Maybe he has a different attitude about this. And, it's not just Bean's call in all cases, as we know. When it's somebody who doesn't work out, it's blamed on other people.
It looks like we have a Saber trade.
Okay.
It is the Blues, but it's just the defenseman. And it's not the defenseman I would have chosen. Colton Parayko, according to Darren Drager. Here's the tweet from Drager. Sounds like it's going to happen. Redeem Murtka, last year's first-round pick, and a first-round pick will be a part of it. Things are being finalized. Player needs to approve, etc.
Okay.
I'm not sure I know what to say.
It's obviously a buyer move.
Yeah.
Olympian.
With a $6.5 million cap hit for 4 more seasons.
I have room.
I do?
Sure. Well, they
for
have
a $6.5 million third pair defenseman? Ugh. Hang on. If St. Louis is keeping half of this, and I've got Parayko for $3.25 million on the cap for 4 more years, that's a little bit more palatable. I don't love this player at all. I like Justin Falk as an idea much more myself. He's older. Parayko's meaner. Might fit the third pair mean guy they were looking for. St. Louis better be keeping half of that money with that price. That's 2 first-round picks. And that's a lot to pay for a third pair defenseman to me.
Travis doesn't like it.
I'm not in love with this at all. If there isn't salary retention, my head might explode. Even with it, I don't love it. That just seems like a really steep price.
Show me the charts. He's a name.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And the contract reflects that. Show me the charts, baby.
Let me make sure on that. I have his, this was being talked about, so I opened his Spot Track page because I just said it. I looked, I'm not kidding you, I've looked like 4 times today. He is under, that contract runs 4 more seasons in addition to this one. I said it, I knew it, and I still wanted to check because it just blows my mind that there's that much money left on that deal. Wow. They better be keeping half of that money.
Here's a good chart. Don Lucian, one of the league's best defensive defensemen with a strong ability to eat tough minutes. Should be a perfect fit. This is analytics talking here. Should be a perfect fit next to one of Buffalo's terrific group of lefty defensemen. I can't imagine anybody's going out.
No.
From this team.
No.
I don't think he's replacing a stud.
But next to one of their lefty defensemen, he's not in the top 4. Like, that's the idea here, right? I think. And this, obviously they didn't give up one of those guys in this, so that doesn't change. He is not a player that comes in here and unseats Byram or Power, and certainly Dahlin or even Samuelson. That's why I'm saying it's a third pair guy. That's a big price.
I know from talking to Paul all these times about this deadline, what should they covet, number 1? And this is the player he's talking about, isn't it? Somebody to, ease the burden on their top defenseman. And even though it's a lot of money, this looks like somebody who should do that for them. Any injury can really disrupt the whole thing to that group. The Sabres reportedly trading for Colton Parayko, Canadian Olympian from St. Louis.
Murtka, last year's first-round pick, the big defenseman, and a first-round pick, according to Drager, a part of the return.
Big. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. We'll reach out to Paul and get his perspective on it. Lines are open for your calls. This is WGR. The Sabres make a move. Big move. Colton Parayko from the Blues for essentially 2 first-round picks. Last year's first-round pick choice, and then, I guess, the 26th draft. The Sabres are hosting the draft, and they won't have their first, I guess.
If this is a 26 first, yeah. Yeah, I guess that's right. Maybe they'll pick another one up.
Maybe.
I don't know.
When does that ever happen? Maybe that happens in hockey.
I think we still need reportedly here on this, right? We don't have any confirmation, the definitive word. Like there's Drager saying it's done. I got Frank Saravelli a few seconds ago saying Parayko hasn't waived a no move yet. There's expectation that he will, but just it's not done.
Let's hope at this point I got graphics with the Sabres logo on it.
I know.
So that's not what we need.
I'm going to just be hanging on salary retention here. This is $6.5 million for 4 more seasons after this one for a 32-year-old player. I don't know, man. And I think he's been I don't know. I feel like he's certainly at his age going the wrong way. But maybe you just use him for this year and see if you can spin him off in the offseason. I don't know. You don't have to be hitched to the $6.5 million for 4 more years. It's just a big amount.
So far, I'm choosing to stick up for it. I mean, you can't have it be perfect most of the time, and we had been hearing that the Sabres wanted to do something big. This is that, and they did it at a position where I think it actually makes sense. You could have done it with this Robert Thomas or someone up front too. But I like the idea of adding a defenseman in this way. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here at 803-0550. Colton Parayko expected to become a Saber. This is WGR.
Games tonight across the league. One other one is at 7. Vegas is in Detroit versus the Red Wings. Then 3 games at 10. Carolina at Vancouver. The Ducks hosting the Islanders, and the Blues, they're out west versus Seattle. And then the NFL also had a big trade today as well. The Rams acquiring Chiefs All-Pro cornerback Trent McDuffie for the 29th overall pick in this year's draft, a 5th and a 6th-round pick in this draft, and then a 2027 3rd-round pick. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones on Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
Again, the Sabres reportedly set to acquire 11th-year defenseman Colton Parayko, member of Team Canada at the Olympics. He's been with the Blues his entire career, was a young stud when they won their Stanley Cup 8 or so years ago, whatever year that was.
That was 19, I think. 19?
Yeah. All right. Was within a year, so I'll take it.
You were close, yeah.
I threw in the Orso.
You were in the ballpark, yeah. And I'm not even positive. I think 19 is the year, but I'm not 100% sure.
I know, Bulldog, that Calgary won in 1989. That's one thing I know. Recently, it gets tougher for me.
And you can never take that away from them.
Or me.
Right.
Until I forget it.
Right.
Paul Hamilton with us now on the West-Her hotline. This isn't going to come cheap, Paul, if the reports are correct. The first-round pick, Murtka, from last year, maybe this year's 2. Sounds like 2 first, if you think of it that way, for a player who's got a pretty big contract. What do you think?
Yeah, and a guy who's, 32 years old, will be 33 in May. So, this is what this new general manager does. I mean, he goes for it. And, he's thinking of now. He's not thinking about X amount of years down the road or anything like that. He's thinking about now. And so that, that's the way they're going to go about their business. You knew that when he was hired, that that's the way he will do things. And this guy is still, at age 32, a premier defenseman in the National Hockey League. I mean, it's not like you're getting somebody that's on the way down. He could be on the way down in the next couple of years, but again, that's not what he's worried about. He's worried about the here and now. The Sabres do have, other young defensemen too that are coming on the right side. So it's not, it's not like the cupboard is bare. I think Murtka overall is the best one, but Adam Kleber is considered an excellent defenseman. He was a second-round pick the year before in 2024. He's at the University of Minnesota Duluth. And, he's played on the World Junior team for Team USA. So, he is still around. I think Murtka, from what I've seen, might turn out to be the better player, and he was a higher draft pick. But, it's and Sturbeck is another one. Sturbeck played, I believe, Michigan State. And he's 20 years old, and he was a second-round pick in 2023. Both big, both right-handed shooting defensemen. So it's not like the cupboard is bare when it comes to young defensemen like that. So I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah, I'm not worried about so much that Murtka is involved, but seeing another number one, like seeing that price, we haven't seen yet, Paul, and this often is like maybe the last piece of the trade that gets leaked out is salary retention. And to me, if I want to get all the way there on Parayko, because I can see they're a better team tomorrow, or as soon as Parayko is in the lineup than they were last night. If he's here, because, a future one and Murtka, who's playing junior hockey, aren't helping me right now anyway. So in the short term, I'm good. And I'm especially okay if they're keeping 50% of this money moving forward. But if they're not, and I've just added 4 more years of $6.5 million to Matt Decor that already has Power getting paid and Dahlin getting paid. Samuelson's a pretty modest contract, but there's a lot of term there. And Byram, I guess, is shorter, right? There was only a 2-year deal for him. It's just a big contract for a guy that's on the wrong side of the age curve to me. But if it's cut in half, I'm going to be a much easier sell.
Yeah, and again, either way, I think you have to just look at it at what you're getting, and it's 6.5 is not a big contract for a guy like Parayko. You would think that would cost you a lot more for a guy of that kind of talent. 6.5 for a defenseman down the road is not going to be considered that. But again, we're talking about age as you get down to 2029-30, which is how long his contract goes to. It's the price of doing business. It's the Sabres have a lot of young players. They don't need draft picks right now, and they don't need young players right now. Now you don't want to put the cupboard bare,
right?
But if you're giving up one first-round pick, well, you're basically giving up two. I mean, if what the reports are right, one that's already been drafted and one that hasn't. That's the cost of doing business, and you still, as I mentioned, have guys that are considered to be very good prospects coming through the system.
Sabres reportedly trading for Colton Parayko of the Blues, Canadian Olympian. When have the Sabres ever had a Team Canada Olympian on their roster? I mean, this comes after the Olympics, of course, but still. Brian Mazurowski, clever. Good to do this after last night, he says, because of the ceremony. Well, Paul, I think I know the answer to this, and you've kind of already said it again here, but from our conversations about the deadline and what you like most for the Sabres, this is pretty much it, isn't it?
Yeah, and, wouldn't surprise me maybe if, I know they like Kesselring and part of a trade. Wouldn't surprise me if he becomes part of a trade out, or if they just want to stay with the depth. But right now, Kesselring might be the guy without a uniform on. Once Parayko gets here, he may be up in the press box. So, it just depends, how things break down. So I could maybe see, especially when we're talking about money and salary cap and that type of thing, especially since Kesselring also needs a contract, I could see maybe that he could be on the way out possibly.
What do you think of that?
Of what, Kesselring being an odd man out here? I like him moving forward. This year, I mean, it's been a lost year, and I don't know if I don't know that I would want to be so sour on him to say get him out of here. I still think he can help you, but he needs. You said it a month ago, Paul. Like, sit him until he's healthy, and if he's not going to be healthy all year, just get somebody else. Maybe that's what this is, like you're saying.
Maybe,
but I wouldn't be quick to, unless somebody's dying to have him and it's a deal that I can't pass up or whatever. But I'm not eager to divest myself. I'm eager to improve on him for now, and this clearly does that, no question. I'm just really curious to see how he'll end up fitting in here, because Paul, the way I've talked about this team, I think everyone knows this, that listens to us on a regular basis. Those top 4D are their thing, right? And that's puck moving, and that's in and out of the zone, and it's cycling out high in the offensive zone. And I'm just not sure if Parayko ends up pulling down minutes in the top 4 because of his size and his physical nature, and they want that maybe a little more balance. I feel like I might be losing something when I'm, he's out there with Owen Power, and it gets to Parayko, and like, okay, the play's over now. You know what I mean? Like, he's just not a guy that I don't want the puck on his stick in the offensive zone. And those other 4 guys, absolutely anytime, all 4 of them, get them the puck, they're going to make good plays with it. Parayko's got a big shot, and he's a mean defender. I'm just not sure I want him paired up with somebody that's used to making plays.
And I'm not, when I say that, it's not because I'm sour on
Kesselring.
It's just I look at it that, there are only 6 jerseys to put on, and moving forward. So where does he fit in when your defense is healthy? I don't, just quickly going through my mind, I don't see where he fits in. And that's all I'm saying. It's not that I'm soured on him, or I was.
Yeah.
When they acquired him, I really, really liked what I saw last, in the World Championships, and even when he was with Utah, I really. But I'm thinking, okay, there's Samuelson, there's Dahlin, there's Power, and there's Bo Byram. I don't put him past any of them. I don't put him past Parayko. So I guess there's one more spot.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about that. So you could look at it that way. So wait a minute, there is a spot for him. There's one more spot there that if you're looking to put somebody in there. So it's not like it's necessary you have to, but this puts a lot more money into your blue line now, and this is a guy that also needs a contract.
Boy, that's a really close one for me. They could do it. They don't have to do it at all. And we've lived through the cupboard ending up bare on the blue line in a playoff run before, although that's a long time ago. They don't have to do it 1 year RFA, but if somebody came calling and could help you replenish or even be a roster player. I mean, I'm wondering here, Paul, as we're talking, it's still 2 more days, and this obviously shows an aggressiveness from the Sabres that isn't surprising, given what it sounded like. Could they do something else? You've traded your number 1 pick now, which interestingly is in a draft that they'll be hosting. Kind of a bummer in that respect, if it ends up being that, like the reports are saying. But what more might they have room for and perhaps an appetite for?
Yeah, from a salary cap standpoint, it's kind of you've pretty much put yourself in a spot, money in, money out right now. Moving
right,
forward.
this gobbles up most of the room they had.
Right.
If it's the full boat, which again we're waiting. I'm very hopeful that it won't be, given the price they paid, because I think usually the price paid indicates some salary retention. And so anyway, but go ahead, Paul. I didn't mean to do that.
And it could be. I mean, that's you're right. I mean, what you're getting at is right. I mean, usually it's like, well, we want more for this player, and it's like, okay, if you want more for this player, we'll do it, but you're going to have to keep some money. You're going to have to help us out that way. Just think of the last time the Sabres had a trade with the St. Louis Blues. They got 2 players that didn't work out very well, that they didn't want, but they had to take in the O'Reilly trade, and Sobotka and Berglund.
Yeah.
They didn't want either one of them.
Berglund
they
quit
had to
hockey.
take them. Yeah.
Well, quit the NHL. Right. Yeah.
So, and that was part of it. It's like, all right, you want to make this deal, whatever, you're going to have to take these 2, and they did. So that very often is what you're talking about is exactly right. It's okay, this is going to be a steep price, and we'll do that, but you're going to have to help us out here with some money.
And of course, Thompson came in that very trade from the Blues. There's nothing. Well, we've seen one report that Parayko isn't believed to have waived his no-trade clause to this point. Paul, what's the timeline on that? Wouldn't that have to happen before everybody starts running with this like it's done?
Well, you probably are talking to the wrong guy when it comes to rumors and that kind of stuff. I'm not big on rumors. But this seems to be not just one guy talking about this. This seems to be people universally talking about this. So it's kind of past that point. Yeah, I mean it's and nobody's saying it's like, well, he can still put the kibosh on this type of a thing. So you would think he and his agent, if they aren't there, they are basically there. And, if figure, because don't forget, too, a lot of these people have put the Buffalo Sabres on their no trade, whether the ones that have a partial no trade. They did it when they signed their contract when the Buffalo Sabres were nowhere. And the Buffalo Sabres hadn't been in the playoffs since 2014, and nothing looked like it was even remotely positive in that sense. So things have changed quickly in the Buffalo Sabres organization. So you look at it that way. I think more guys might be willing to waive it. It's not necessarily weather and that type of thing. If you are a good team, people will come. Nobody wanted to come to the Buffalo Bills until Josh Allen and McDermott showed up. And then all of a sudden winning started. Then all of a sudden, okay, yeah, cool, let's go to the Buffalo Bills. Let's go play on that team. The Buffalo Sabres had no problem getting people to come to Buffalo when Drury and Briere were on the team, or when Dominik Hasek was helping them to the Stanley Cup Finals. They had no problem having people come to play for the Buffalo Sabres. So winning is what talks about it. And what this team is doing now, I think, will raise some eyebrows from an agent and a player to say, you know what? What do you think? Maybe should we rethink this? And that's what a season that they're having, and they just keep showing that, you know what? This is going to end. And just when people think it might be ending, and they keep saying, no, it's not. We're going to win again, and now people are saying, well, they basically are going to be in the playoffs. They're right on the tail of the Tampa Bay Lightning for number 1 in the conference.
Yeah.
When does the rug get pulled out?
Right.
Well, it hasn't yet.
Yeah, I do want to say I do like. I mean, I loved yesterday thinking about them being so aggressive to go try to get Robert Thomas, and so the aggressiveness point going for it, I think, is totally called for. I talked a lot about this yesterday, Paul. Given the conference, they are right on Tampa's heels. There's not a team in the conference anyway that looks like their world's better than them, right? So, you should treat it as though you can get in the playoffs and not just be happy to be there, but that you could make some noise when you're there. And this absolutely is something that points to that. So I'm not all sour about it. I'm just the money is kind of freaking me out. And like I said already, I'm a little worried about where he'll slot in part because of his reputation and his style. They may feel like they want to mess with those top 4 and put Parayko higher up in the lineup than what I was necessarily thinking they should be shopping for, which was just an upgrade to their third pair so they can play them more than, the sheltered minutes that they're using Metsä in, for example. But that all remains to be seen, like what role he'll have, where he'll fit in, and how it will all fit together.
See, this fits exactly what I've been talking about. And I actually would envision maybe a third pair, but a third pair that plays 18 to 20 minutes and takes some of those minutes off those other 4. I'd be all for that. I don't think he necessarily has to be in the top 4. But you can still get him at 18 to 20 minutes, and as I said, take minutes away from 3 of the 4 guys. I don't necessarily think you need to take minutes away from Dahlin, but the other 3, yeah, because I just think they're going to fatigue out. So this is exactly what I've been talking about, and yeah, put him on a third pair, and but be working him in because. The way they set things up, I mean, Murtka goes in warm-ups as a left defenseman. I don't think he ever plays left defense during the game. It's just that's the way he warms up. But they just kind of keep working him in at times, and then they'll work the other guy in at times if it happens to be Bryson or somebody else.
Yeah, you meant Metsä here, you said Murtka by mistake. I think you meant Metsä.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
right?
Metsä. And Kesselring. It's like, well, they're both right-handed shooting defensemen, and you watch warm-up. Metsä plays left defense in warm-up. I don't know if he's taking a shift at left defense.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's like, okay, this shift, Kesselring's going to play right, and Dahlin's going to play left. And next time one of them that you want to put one of them out, then Metsä's going to go out there, and Power's going to play left. That's how the minutes of those top 4 are rolling up because they all get an extra shift with whoever you want to throw out there at the time. Then by the end of the night, Kesselring and Metsä might have 10 to 12 minutes that they're playing, and one of them can still do that. Where I would rather Parayko be on that third pair and be maybe up towards 18-20 and bring in the minutes of some of the other guys down.
Do you think that there is any chance that they've made this move with a mind towards moving someone like Owen Power or Bowen Byram, Paul?
I never say never. That's not what I'm envisioning. that's happening here.
Yep.
But I never say never, especially with this guy. I mean, we know what he's done in Columbus, but here he is in Buffalo, and his first move is a swing. It's a heavy swing. It's a swing that we really haven't seen since Tim Murray, when Tim Murray's bringing in O'Reilly and he's bringing in Kane, and he basically did empty the shelves. But he got too carried away because now he was giving up first-round picks for Leonard and that type of thing. So it almost got irresponsible there. So, we haven't seen anything like this before, but he did it in Columbus and wasn't afraid to do it. And now his second trade, his first trade was a trade for the Rochester Americans. The second trade now is a big swing. And it shouldn't be surprising to any of us.
Boy, I mean, I shouldn't say never, but the Sabres have almost never had this kind of team before, where defensively they are so rich. And, I mean, some people are going to question this trade for that reason alone. Like, just, is that really where we're weakest? But I think I love it. I mean, I don't know how good the guy is anymore. I'm reading some of that. I have a ton of respect for Travis, and his problem with the trade is he doesn't think Parayko is Parayko anymore.
Right.
And then you've got the years ahead and everything like that. But they've just never been. When in Sabres history has their blue line been their strength? Like just the 506, 607 teams
never.
were witchy, and you had the Hasek era, French Connection.
Yep.
They've never come close to like a Norris Trophy or anything like this. Now you've got Dahlin at the top of it, and this young group of defensemen added to this group now is Parayko from this move. I'm super excited. I mean, fans are already, but they've just really never kind of had this makeup before.
And the thing is with Parayko, is he what he was 5 years ago? Yeah, probably not. It's close though. I mean, Team Canada is not going to take him and put him on the roster if he's not close to what he used to be. He might not be exactly what he used to be, but I don't think the Sabres need him to be exactly what he used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But he's close enough right now that he can fill the role I'm talking about easily, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he has slipped that much. I don't disagree with the fact that he's slipped a little probably, but he's not on Team Canada if he slipped a lot.
I don't know if you guys watch or not, but Team Canada didn't win.
Well, this guy never scored.
I'm just saying.
This guy never scored.
All right. All kidding aside.
One goal all season.
Paul, I got lost in Robert Thomas land yesterday, and that was a pleasant surprise that the Sabres were thought to be shopping for a player of that caliber. Do you think that's a sign that they will – get in the market for, I don't know, like what are we talking about beyond? I mean, Thomas is like singularly 26-year-old, 8-point-a-game centerman. There's not another guy like him on the list of guys that we think are going to be traded. Maybe there's a guy out there that is not on anybody's list, but do you think they'll go shopping for Vincent Trocheck now or Nazem Kadri, like any other depth forward that could give them a guy on draws, a guy to help kill penalties, a guy to play defense when the playoffs get here?
It's impossible to say not knowing what the money situation is and where they are.
Right, with the right.
Where are they at the salary cap? And we're not going to know until we know if the Blues are hanging on to some money here. If the Blues are not hanging on to some money here, they can't unless it's money in, money out.
Right.
It can't be, well, we'll give you a couple of picks for one of those guys you just mentioned. Kadri comes rather expensive.
Yes.
So really, I'm not trying to dodge your question, but it's impossible to answer it. If money has not changed, if the Blues are not keeping money, the answer is no. They're not going to do that because they can't. They just don't have the salary cap unless they have decided to send somebody out somebody's money. Or have they decided, again, this is not, I'm just saying, has a decision been made on Tuck? We've heard nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
We've just heard, negotiations continue. But if, and I'm saying if, not that I've heard this, I'm saying if they've come to the decision that there is just too big of a gap to bridge here, and all right, well, does he move out then? And then does this trade you're talking about happen because you freed up some money, to try to do that?
Right.
If you just have decided, you know what, we're too far apart and we're just not going to get there. Even if we keep negotiating till July 1st, we just don't feel we're going to get there. Their version of what they think he's worth is a lot different from our version. We don't seem to be getting there. So could that happen before Friday? If that's what they're thinking, and I want to stress, I'm saying if. I have heard nothing to say that that's what anybody is thinking or anything like that. But who knows? Who knows what's happening behind closed doors?
All right, Paul. By the way, in the game recap the Sabres send out from last night in this case, it did say on there that Kekalainen would be scheduled to speak Friday at 4. So the deadline is 3 o'clock Friday, and the Sabres put that out today or whenever, last night or today, in that format. So
yeah, and it could, if they know for sure they're done. Sometimes they know like by 2:45 they're done or whatever. Sometimes it happens earlier. I wouldn't hold them to a time. I would just, that they're just kind of saying he's going to talk afterwards type of thing, and it could be 4. But if they know they're done and it's just not going to be any more, I've had GMs walk in at 10 after 3 just because they knew they were done. I've had GMs walk in at 5 because the NHL can't handle trades, and at 4:30 they're still trying to process trades, and then one of the Sabres trades hasn't been processed yet. And I'm sitting there going, what year are we in right now?
Right. The fax machine is jammed.
Are you kidding
What
me?
is wrong with you people? Is this Office Space? Let's get it together.
Who was the fax machine player?
Michael Zigamanis.
Yes. Good pull.
Yes,
All right.
That is a good bill.
Thanks for jumping on with us, Paul.
Yeah, anytime, guys.
There you go. There's our Paul Hamilton. Yeah, I don't know. More to come. We'll see. Trade deadline is not until, like Mike just said, Friday at 3. Paul's appearance with us today brought to you by Raylax Honda. Raylax, we got this.
Sabres reportedly trading for Blues defenseman Colton Parayko. We don't have anything official from either the Sabres or the Blues yet, as far as I know. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog at 803-0550. Your calls are welcome to talk about it. This is WGR.
Looks like we have a Saber trade.
Okay.
It is the Blues, but it's just the defenseman. And it's not the defenseman I would have chosen. Colton Parayko, according to Darren Drager. Here's the tweet from Drager. Sounds like it's going to happen. Redeem Mertka, last year's first-round pick, and a first-round pick will be a part of it. Things are being finalized. Player needs to approve, etc.
Okay.
I'm not sure I know what to say.
It's obviously a buyer move.
Yeah.
Olympian.
With a $6.5 million cap hit for 4 more seasons.
I have room.
I do?
Sure. Well, I mean, they
for a
have to have
$6.5 million third pair defenseman? Ugh. Hang on. If St. Louis is keeping half of this, and I've got Parayko for $3.25 million on the cap for 4 more years, that's a little bit more palatable. I don't love this player at all. I like Justin Falk as an idea much more myself. He's older. Parayko's meaner. Might fit the third pair mean guy they were looking for. St. Louis better be keeping half of that money with that price. That's 2 first-round picks. And that's a lot to pay for a third pair defenseman to me.
Travis doesn't like it.
I'm not in love with this at all. If there isn't salary retention, my head might explode. Even with it, I don't love it. That just seems like a really steep price.
Show me the charts. He's a name.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And the contract reflects that. Show me the charts, baby.
Let me make sure on that. I have his this was being talked about. So I opened his Spot Track page because I just said it. I looked. I'm not kidding you. I've looked like 4 times today. He is under that contract runs 4 more seasons in addition to this one. I said it. I knew it. And I still wanted to check because it just blows my mind that there's that much money left on that deal. Wow. They better be keeping half of that money.
Here's a good chart. Don Lucian, one of the league's best defensive defensemen with a strong ability to eat tough minutes. Should be a perfect fit. This is analytics talking here. Should be a perfect fit next to one of Buffalo's terrific group of lefty defensemen. I can't imagine anybody's going out.
No.
From this team.
No.
I don't think he's replacing a stud.
But next to one of their lefty defensemen, he's not in the top 4. Like, that's the idea here, right? I think. And this, obviously they didn't give up one of those guys in this, so that doesn't change. He is not a player that comes in here and unseats Byram or Power, and certainly Dahlin or even Samuelson. That's why I'm saying it's a third pair guy. That's a big price.
I know from talking to Paul all these times about this deadline, what should they covet, number 1? And this is the player he's talking about, isn't it? Somebody to, ease the burden on their top defenseman. And even though it's a lot of money, this looks like somebody who should do that for them. Any injury can really disrupt the whole thing to that group. The Sabres reportedly trading for Colton Parayko, Canadian Olympian from St. Louis.
Mertka, last year's first-round pick, the big defenseman, and a first-round pick, according to Drager, a part of the return.
Does need to approve this move, but if it does go through, Drager's reporting that the returns for the Blues will be defenseman Redi Merca and a first potentially for this year. Parayko is also under contract at $6.5 million per year until 2030-31. The deadline is on Friday at 3 p.m. We'll keep you posted on any more news for the Sabres, but we do have some other news regarding the deadline across the NHL. As the Maple Leafs appear to be gearing up for a few moves. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Scott Lawton, and Bobby McMahon all are being held out tonight versus New Jersey due to asset protection purposes. Puck drop for that game is at 7. And then defenseman Tyler Myers heads to Dallas for a second in 2027 and a fourth in 2029. And then staying with the league, 4 other games tonight. 1 other game at 7. It's Vegas. They are in Detroit to take on the Red Wings. And then 3 games at 10. Carolina at Vancouver. The Ducks hosting the Islanders, and the Blues, they are out west versus Seattle. And then the NFL also got involved in the trade discussion as the Rams acquire Chiefs All-Pro cornerback Trent McDuffie for the 29th overall pick in this year's draft, a 5th and a 6th round pick in this year's draft, and a 2027 3rd round pick. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones on Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
Pops up in the air, knocked down by Edmondson, and now the Blues off to the races. And Colton Parayko And Parayko knocks it by Gerard, and Leclerc shoots. He scores! Unbelievable! Parayko with a one-handed goal in overtime. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
God, that sounds great.
Wow. He's a dangler. Now, I believe that's John Kelly.
I think that's right.
Blues announcer. We'll see. Not official yet from the Sabres or the Blues, but numerous reports have the Sabres trading for that player. Colton Parayko has been in the league a long time with St. Louis. He's 32, closing in on 800 games, all with the Blues. A couple things I'm looking for. We'll get to your calls in just a moment here. Power play potential.
He's always had a big shot, but he is not. He's not a power play quarter. He's not a slick puck moving. He's a shutdown D, but he's got a cannon.
It doesn't look like he's playing the power play at all,
right?
Anymore for the Blues, but he did earlier in his career. He's
always had a big shot. He had a big shot.
You're also not going to find penalty minutes if that's your thing with Parayko. 6'6", 228 is what he's listed, but his career high in penalty minutes is 32. Which very well might have been 16 minors in 80 games, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're assuming big, here we go again.
Big, mean, shutdown D.
High stick to the choppers.
Right.
Not a lot of that.
Yeah. I mean, he was one of the trio of fights in the Four Nations last year.
Oh, yeah.
He was right at the beginning. He was the third fight after the Tkachuk brothers did their thing. He fought JT Miller. In the goal crease because Miller was just looking for it, and he just went and picked them, and they went.
How could I forget a fight?
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see, man. I'm on pins and needles about the salary retention. I almost want to assume it's going to happen because if the return truly is a first-round pick, have you seen that specified on a year yet? By the way, because
Nope.
It doesn't have to be this year's first, but it might be anyway. But it's thought to be a first-round pick. And Radim Mertka, who is last year's first-round pick. I think for this player, at his age with that contract, to pay that price, there just almost has to be salary retention. And if there is, and it's as much if it's 50%, I'm a lot more comfortable with this whole scenario because $3.25 million. We're talking. The cap is always going up and up and up. And whatever role, if he's on your team next year as your fifth defenseman making $3.25 million against your cap, you're fine. Like I got no problem with that. If he's making double that, I got some issues. I mean, I just think it's not gonna be smart money in the long term. In the short term, hey, go win this year, all right? And that's what they're trying to do. I'm here for that. I just hope they protected themselves on the money.
Let's go to Justin here. Hi, Justin.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks for calling.
So something that I was thinking about is as the rumor started to fly, and you guys mentioned it earlier with the idea of power moving out, that the team has really built the identity of the defense jumping up into the offense. Something that just kind of excited me as it flew through my head was the idea of spreading around the defensive minutes, having another elite defenseman come in and really solidifying the identity, all three lines on the D rolling and creating chances in the offense.
The thing is that this player is not that player. This is not, and that's why I'm worried about him getting minutes in the top four because I think it could take away from what the Sabres' best pitch has been. Their fastball has been those 4D freely roaming the ice and creating offense, and I just don't think Parayko, he's not that player. So if he's paired with Dahlin or Power, you're losing that. You're going to gain something in your own end maybe, but I'm not looking to disturb that top four in any way. I might be wrong. I mean, I'm not the hockey coach. And the playoffs are different, so maybe that's, they're trying to brace themselves for more wall play, and you want to be ready for that, and I respect that. This is not a guy that adds to what they do best. He does something else that they don't have, And that's where the rub is. He's certainly, if he's used as a third pair guy and they spread the minutes out more evenly, that works just fine for me. But he is not going to add to what they already do well. If anything, he has the potential to take away from it if he's on the ice with those guys. If he's playing third pair minutes with Kesselring or some other guy they go get, or Connor Timmins once he gets back from his broken leg, and they feel like they can play them 18, like Paul said a little while ago, 18 minutes a night as opposed to the very sheltered minutes mostly they've been giving Metsä. I made the same mistake Paul made. Although, I don't want to muddy the waters, they were trying him out the last couple games on different pairs. I don't know if you noticed. Like, he was on the ice with Dahlin. He's on the ice with Byram. This is Metsä I'm talking about. And I wonder if that's just a fishing expedition to see, do we need more depth? Can we count on this guy if we get to the playoffs and he has to play, right? Or do we need to go get somebody else? That'll be our seventh or eighth guy, because that's what I think with this trade, especially now, that's where Metsä ends up. I think they're probably just sort of trying that on a little bit. But if Parayko is slotted properly, I can get with this very easily. If he's on the ice a lot with one of those other top guys, I'm not sure I'm going to really like the results.
JD next. Hello.
Hey, guys. I want to tell you, I think this is a great deal. He's not signed for a ton of money. He's 32 years old. Deal's up when he's 37. I think Bulldog's right about his role, but you can keep this guy for a long time, and if you don't want to, he's got a deal. It's not hard to move, and he's a big guy. And I'd also like to suggest, and I'll hang up and get your comments, Sabres need to be more like the Golden Knights and start dealing away more picks if they have to, because they've got more than enough number one picks, first-round picks in their organization.
Yeah, well, they're absolutely, even though they did not pull off the Thomas deal yesterday, they were shopping nothing really but futures for that trade. So I think they're inclined to agree with you. And what they just did today is a one and last year's number one, which tells you they're not against. Maybe they're the Rams. We're going for it. The time and place they are developmentally, it works well enough to do it that way. I think it's called for, and I like the aggressiveness. I'm just not crazy about the player they chose this time.
Yeah, I'm not sure this can be considered a player that would be easy to move in the future. I would not say that. These are special circumstances, and he makes perfect sense as a trade target for a contending team, I think, even at his price. But that's not going to last for too long. Right. You make his age sound like he's 10 years younger than he is, I think, the caller. Like, that's kind of old for a player who's got so much term left. I want to say again, not to sound paranoid, where is the wave of the no trade clause here? I don't get how this gets out before that's done. Nobody would want that. The Sabres would, of course, not want that. Everybody's thinking now that they've acquired this player to have him say no. I mean, that's the kind of thing they've been trying to get past for so long, that kind of a result. Not that it has to be anything that huge of a reason, but he's got to agree to it. Why would that not have happened before the reports? That's not to say that, I guess I'm a little bit cynical about one aspect of this kind of reporting. It's not to say that somebody couldn't break a story that there has been an agreed to trade, but it doesn't happen through Darren Dreger. No offense. That's when it's this is when it's fed. And how does it get fed? And again, like usual, football too, a lot of the top insider names have the story at the same time, right? So it gets fed that this trade has been made without the player's consent. Doesn't that seem like the opposite of what would normally happen? I mean, it's always that the player has to be notified first, and I don't know, how much time would you give a guy to decide? It's a big deal. He's never been traded. He's never played for any other team. Any kind of trade can be traumatic, but I don't know, is there like a certain standard amount of time that a player would get? A day, maybe? The teams have got to move pretty fast, so they'd want your answer, but I don't know. Again, I don't want to sound like that's coming necessarily, but there was another trade last hour between Utah and Calgary?
Yeah, Mackenzie Weegar. Yeah.
Okay, and Elliot Friedman is saying the same thing is in play there, that he hasn't announced he's agreeing to it. So I don't know. This is just does not sort of make sense to me.
It's been an hour or more, right? We were in the 4:30 to 5 o'clock window when we found out that this was being reported the way it's being reported.
Right.
And I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that and the salary retention piece before before much longer goes by. Because it is a little surprising. In fact, I'm watching as I'm sitting here now. Andy Strickland, who's a Blues beat guy, is on a radio show in Canada saying the reporting's a little premature. I'm not suggesting it's not going to happen, but he has a no trade clause, and we still don't know.
Yeah, that's the point. All right, quick break, and then we'll take more of your calls at 803-0550. Thanks for joining us. Big trade if it goes through, Sabres and Blues. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Momentous day for the Sabres if, in fact, it is finalized, this reported trade with the Blues. It's not Robert Thomas. Instead, Colton Parayko, Team Canada defenseman at the Olympics. He is reportedly being traded to the Sabres for last year's first-round pick defenseman Radim Murka and another first. Maybe it's this year coming up or not. But we still don't have any confirmation that the player is on board. He has a no-trade clause, and that hasn't happened yet. We were just talking about how I think that's really weird for this all to get out like it has before the player has signed off. But we will see. The Sabres now have 2 cup-winning defensemen.
Right. Bo Byram is a rookie. One with Colorado.
And Parayko, if he comes, from the Blues win in 2019, you said it was.
I never checked, but I think that's right.
Here's Sal next. Hi, Sal.
Hey, love the show. And one real quick thing. Mike, I remember you from when you were in Rochester. It's going back, but and I'm glad you guys are now on locally, so I don't have to sit in the car. I can actually come in my house and listen.
All right, thanks.
But I just wanted to chime in real quick. Bulldog kind of touched on it about maybe moving Byram or Power. I don't think that's going to happen this year. I mean, I think they're all in because we don't even know if Tuck's going to be back next year. But there's been talk about Byram wanting to be a number 1, and he's only got 1 year left on his contract. So maybe by next trade deadline next year, maybe he's moved. That was my only thought.
Okay.
Yeah, they are not married to all of those guys deeply. I mean, Samuelson is you would never move a guy that's playing like he's playing now off your team with the contract he's got. It's one of the steals of the league. He's playing number 1 pair minutes, and he's under contract for, I think, $4.5 million for 3 more years. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not looking at the grid right now, but I'm pretty sure that that's where he's at. But Dahlin obviously is a huge commitment. So is Power. I don't know. I mean, Byram is almost 10 years younger. He's not 22. Still, he's 7 or 8 years younger than Parayko is. And again, like the style player we're talking about is he does give them something they don't have, but he does not add to what they do well. So they're going to have to make that work, and I'm not saying they can't, but any idea that he enhances, I mean, he's a defenseman, so he adds to their decor, but he is not someone who helps them do what they already do really well any better. Hopefully he supplements that with his style and that meshes. I'm just not eager to see plays die on his stick in the offensive zone. That's all.
Other people are tweeting that the Blues reporter, Andy Strickland, is saying he would be surprised if Parayko waived his no-trade clause for this move. I don't know that was exactly what was said, but it's being getting around that's the quote.
Too. Yep.
That he would be surprised from sources close to the player if he were to be traded. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here at 803-0550. Maybe the Sabres have traded for Team Canada defenseman Colton Parayko. This is WGR.
About an hour or so ago, hockey insider Darren Drager reported the Buffalo Sabres are on the verge of acquiring 32-year-old defenseman Colton Parayko from the St. Louis Blues. However, the most important part is Parayko still needs to approve the move. He has a no-trade clause. But if this is to go through, Drager is reporting that Roddy Mirka and a first are part of the return. And then for Parayko's contract, he is under contract at $6.5 million per year until the 2030-31 season. The NHL trade deadline is on Friday at 3 p.m. The Sabres will be in action tomorrow night at Pittsburgh. Got some other trade news as well today. The Maple Leafs appear to be gearing up for a number of moves. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Scott Laughton, and Bobby McMann all are being held out tonight versus New Jersey due to asset protection purposes. Puck drop for that game is at 7. And then we did have one trade go through today. Defenseman Tyler Myers heading to Dallas for a second in 2027 and a fourth in 2029. And then the NFL also got involved in trade talks today as the LA Rams are acquiring Chiefs All-Pro cornerback Trent McDuffie for the 29th overall pick this year, a 5th and a 6th rounder as well, and then a 2027 third-round pick. And then college football, Hall of Fame head coach Lou Holtz has died at the age of 89. Holtz most notably was with Notre Dame for 10 seasons and did win the national title in 1988. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones on Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I don't love junior mints. I just don't hate them. I don't understand why they are treated like second-class candy.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Oh,
there's
you don't understand why a candy that is basically toothpaste wrapped up in stale chocolate is treated like a second-class candy. All right, I get it. It's a good, valid question.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Is there a time to change? You know, the 3 teams I've drafted this year, second-class candy is pretty good.
On WGR, Sports Radio 550.
Bulldog, were you ever a Lou Holtz guy?
No. Mad respect. But yeah, no.
Not when he was coaching the Jets when you were a wee lad?
No, wasn't crazy about that, and I never really cared for Notre Dame. In fact, I'm probably do the kids still call people haters? Or is there like a new, cooler term that I'm going to sound embarrassingly ridiculous using? Whatever. If anything, I've been a Notre Dame hater. It's they never were my thing.
I loved his teams. I loved Notre Dame. That's right when I wanted to go there when I was a high school student. 1988. That's applying to Notre Dame. I love those. Tony Rice, Rocket Ismail. I love those teams.
Yeah. Just never was my thing.
If I could go back, though, I think I'd be better anyway, at seeing through the narrative stuff, rooting for Miami and not Notre Dame in that great rivalry. Rooting for the Raiders.
I was a nomad in those days because I didn't really like either. I didn't like the Miami thing, and I just wasn't crazy about the Notre Dame thing. I mean, I get the juxtaposition of the two styles, but neither one really worked for me.
The stereotypes, anyway.
Right.
All right, so we're waiting on, just like we thought we'd be doing when we woke up this morning, we're waiting on Colton Parayko to decide whether he wants to join the Sabres. Anybody else think they can sort of figure out what is going on with this, with the reports of the trade being made before he apparently has agreed to do it? Why? I mean, I keep asking it.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it be the other way around? Where the Blues go to the player, we have a deal to send you to Buffalo. What do you think? And again, you give the player some amount of time, probably to sit with that, maybe a day. The deadline is Friday. It's not a week.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're moving fast here, but then if he agrees, then you have a trade. You don't have a trade until that happens.
Right.
And is there any logical aspect to this where anybody benefits if he turns them down? The Sabres look bad if that happens.
God, they look bad.
I mean, we're back to that. Somebody doesn't want to go. They're 2 points out of first place.
The player is, depending on where the fan base is with the player, right? But the fan base might love the idea of offloading this contract. We're rebuilding, and I'm getting 2 pretty nice assets Still don't know about retention. That's another piece of this, too, that we're waiting on.
Yep.
Obviously, it doesn't matter. If he doesn't waive the no trade, then the retention's out the window because St. Louis is keeping the player for now. But, yeah, like the player is in the crosshairs with the fan base and the organization because you kept us from doing business that is, going to make us better. That's the idea anyway, right? So the player doesn't end up looking great. But really, it would be the biggest hit would be, what do we care about? We care about the Sabres and their reputation. And we know about the palm trees and the taxes. And if a team that is 2 points out of first place in their division trying to acquire a depth defenseman from a last place team in the other conference, that dude wants to go, yeah, no.
Exactly.
That looks really bad for you, for us, for the Sabres. So as much as so you can be all over the road on something like this. With retention, I can get there on this deal. Without it, I'd hate it. But I would hate even more if he just says, I don't want to do it. Honestly.
I know.
It just would look so bad for them.
Maybe I'm going to have to just give one to the reporters. It's all kind of just a racket to me. The insider stuff with hockey and with football because, again, like I always say, and people notice this, of course, themselves, is they, quote, break these stories within seconds of each other. Like, it's all timed. So, Schefter and Rappaport aren't really trying to beat each other, are they? They're just sort of taking what they're told, and there
right.
It comes. I loved Rappaport, by the way, yesterday on Montgomery. In one tweet, powerful, productive, and power or something. That wasn't powerful and power, but 3 compliments in like one sentence, none of which is needed.
Right.
You're reporting that he's being traded. We're not here for, your pros. Anyway, yeah, like they tend to break these stories when they're told it's okay to do it.
Right.
But that's not always going to be true, and it's very cynical, I admit. And so if this one is, we've got it.
Like who
do they wait? Don't wait.
Who jumped the gun on that? Right? Did the reporter, in this case Drager, jump the gun? Like, was he told to wait? I kind of doubt it. My guess is whoever from whichever side, it could be the Sabres, could be the Blues, could be it wouldn't be Parayko's agent. That doesn't make sense because he would know. But or it could be. I guess the agent could be like, of course he's going to waive for Buffalo. So go ahead, report it. And then finds out, I didn't know, like, Buffalo did something mean to Colton's mom when he was a kid or something. I don't know. I'm just making up. There's somebody might have just gotten ahead of themselves. Because it's weird that it's this long.
But it shouldn't be, I'm not saying different, it shouldn't be Darren Dreger's job.
Right.
To wait for Colton Parayko. Once he has the trade, he should go with it. You might once, for some reason or another, hold off, like this is how reporters do it, if you're asked to for some certain reason, but not always, and not for a day necessarily. But this is like specifically, here's the trade. Not just, that it's close or something, all the different kinds of wording you get when it's maybe going to happen. This was like, no, this is what Buffalo is giving up for Colton Parayko. And wait a minute, not necessarily. Let's go to Jason next. Hi, Jason.
Hey, gentlemen, how are we doing this evening?
Good, thank you.
Hey, first-time caller here, so I definitely appreciate you guys taking my call.
Thanks.
So I definitely love the take that you guys have with this whole Parayko trade. I do have a question, and I wonder, like, say Parayko does not want to get traded out of St. Louis, like, what type of, like effect does that get to, like, our GM? Like, would he ever not want to trade with St. Louis again? Does that give our GM, like, a sour taste in his mouth? Like, hey, we're willing to do all this work and, like, give you XYZ what you want, and then your player just says no.
I doubt it.
I don't think it scorns you on the organization at all, unless they were led to believe by the Blues that they had an agreement that Parayko had given them. I'll waive it for Buffalo. Like if the Blues told them we've got it, told the Sabres, yeah, he's going to waive, then you could have something. But if it's just like if the Blues were straightforward and like we still got to check with the player, make sure he's willing to waive his no trade, then there's no reason to have animosity towards the Blues. But if they misled the Sabres and they're going to end up looking bad if Parayko never waives it, then you could have a tough relationship with them.
I would think almost definitely team and player sat down, who even knows, weeks ago even perhaps, to talk about this. And even maybe talk about certain teams, to go that far. Because we want to move you, but we can't unless you agree to it. So it's maybe in your best interest. He could just say no, period, but then a negotiation like this wouldn't get off the ground. And it might even be public that he's not going to be traded. Like there are those situations. So you would think, I mean, they're buried in the standings. You would think that meeting would have happened maybe a while ago.
Right.
And probably specific teams, you could even do that to try to make it easier on yourself. So, yeah, maybe like you just said, the Blues might have been confident that he would agree. And maybe they were presumptuous. That seems like that could be right. We don't know that he has disagreed or, refused yet either, by the way. It's just that's some of the speculation. Charles is next. Hi, Charles.
Hey, guys. How you doing today?
Good, Charles. Thanks for calling.
Thank you. No, listen, I was thinking more like I think the deal's got to be done first before you approach the player because I don't think the player knows ahead of time because like he's still got to play for that team and who knows how his mindset would be like the playing for a team that's trying to get rid of him versus I think they got to get the deal in place. And I think there's probably a whistleblower probably on the Saber side because they're probably excited and it got out to somebody. And it just got through the wires before they went to the player and got all that straightened out. I think it's probably the deal's got to be done first before they approach the player because he's still got to play for that team if the deal don't go through.
I don't disagree with that. I'm more questioning about how the report gets out because I think there is a lot of coordination between teams and the insiders. So that's not that the trade can't be negotiated in advance. Again, though, like I just said, I would think in this particular case, this should be a player. I mean, he's been there 11 years and he's been great. And no trade clause, there and last. It's like a perfect combination for a guy that, let's talk about moving you. What are you open to, in that respect? So it shouldn't come as a shock to him. If it does, that's just weird because those other, factors. Thanks, Charles. Here's Rob next. Hello, Rob.
Hi, guys. I just had a question. If you could go and touch on it a little bit for me. More general speaking, like NHL contracts versus NFL contracts. You guys were just saying last break how Samuelson's under this great deal for maybe 3 more years. I think same with Tage. Like it's starting to look like a steal, and it just got me thinking like, why don't, or at least maybe they do, and it just doesn't get reported. But how come NHL players don't seem to hold out or just like get new contracts while they're in a contract? That seems to happen often in the NFL. It's a major off-season story every year. This guy wants a new deal. James Cook last year, It seems like routine in the NFL, whereas in the NHL, they seem more concrete. If a guy's under contract, he's under contract. And I was just curious if you guys could explain that a little.
Well, I think a key element, if I understand it correctly, you can't start talking to a guy about a new contract until he's in the summer before his last year. Like in other words, you got to get to close to the finish line before you can open up. So the CBA just doesn't allow for it in the same way. It's one of the trade-offs you get with all the contracts being guaranteed. I mean, there's a crisis in the league because an NFL team gave out a fully guaranteed contract to a quarterback. And that was unprecedented for the NFL. This is the Browns and Deshaun Watson. No other team has done that for another player yet in the NFL. The NHL, every contract is guaranteed. The minute you sign it, you're getting every dime of that. Unless you can get bought out, but even that, you're still going to get most of that money. So I would guess it's just one of the trade-offs for that, is that you can't go in year 3 of a 7-year deal and say, I'm outperforming this. Because you're getting guaranteed all that money, and if you underperform, the team has no recourse. Again, they can buy you out, but you're still going to get most of that money. So If I'm right about all that, like that would add up to me. That's why.
It still would be logical, though, to the caller's question that, say, Samuelson could make a stink about his deal. I'm worth more. Yes, it's guaranteed, everything you said, but I feel like I'm underpaid. Remember not to count, say, James Cook as an example. He didn't hold out. I mean, there is talking about it and threats, and then there's actually doing it. And I wonder how many holdouts do we really get that are that much more than like a week of camp? I mean, it's
right.
not as common as maybe you think.
No, not anymore. That's right. Yeah, I mean, anybody could make a stink about it. I'm just saying, I don't think within the construct of the CBA you have anywhere to go. You go to your agent and say, like, man, this stinks. I'm playing like a $10 million player. I'm only making $5 million. Oh, well, I don't think there's a mechanism to change that. So I think that's that is at least my understanding. And if I'm off on that, because I'm not an expert on the CBA, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. You do not see guys get extensions, right? Think about Alex Tuck. Like this offseason was when the window opened for the Sabres to start talking to him. July 1st, new league year. He's going into the last year of his deal. Let's talk about a contract now. They could have talked ahead of time, set up parameters, but there was no doing a new contract until then. So that's why you don't see guys holding out or complaining, I think.
Okay. Good question, Rob. Thank you. Here's Ricky next. Hello.
Hey, how you guys doing? Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I just want to say, like, the fact that we've been talking about this and you guys have been talking about the trades come from St. Louis, I feel like the players already know that they might be traded. So therefore, my opinion is he should have known that he might be traded. Why is the trade clause an issue now? Like, the player already, just as the media, should have known that he's up for grabs.
It's a question of where.
So why is, I understand that. But then again, we are in a situation, finally, as a Sabres fan, living in Toronto, that we're in a place where you're in St. Louis. There were times that people want to leave our team just to go to a better team. How can we not get this guy in here, knowing that he's coming to a better team? Like, we are playing awesome.
Well, there are obvious possible reasons for that. The point is not that he wouldn't not expect to be traded. It's that he has power over where.
Right.
That's what he might not have been expecting today was Buffalo. What if it's Tampa? That's a big difference. It's simply, I think, what that is having control over where you go. Now, like, oh my God, I can't believe this terrible team I'm on would want to trade me. It seems like an obvious one. And of course, this goes without saying, doesn't it? Players have all kinds of personal preferences where they would want to be, whether that's climate or friends or family. I mean, just all kinds of possible reasons. A guy like this has earned that right. And if he doesn't get traded to the Sabres, he probably gets traded somewhere else if he's open to going anywhere.
Right. But if he's not open to going anywhere, there's not anything the Sabres or the Blues or any other team in the league can do about it. He's got the protection he's got, and that's it. So he gets to choose.
It would even be mixed feelings in the fan base, because this is a guy who's probably sold a lot of jerseys.
Sure.
Maybe more than any other player on the team for years, Parayko. And you'd have fans who think, well, I want him to retire a Blue. I don't want him traded. I know we're bad, but I don't want to get whatever I would get. Think of the Sabres through the years. There are many examples of this. Did you want Ryan Miller traded? Well, you could get draft picks, but you'd have to watch him play for, as it happens,
St.
the
Louis.
Blues.
Right.
So you'd have people who would want stay loyal and all that kind of stuff and want to see him play, fans of his, and then others like, well, help us out here. We're bad. This is 2 firsts. Like, come on, it's been fun, but help us out here.
Right, this is what we do.
And that would definitely be me of the 2 types of fans, right? Like, I don't know. Players aren't my friends. I'll root for the next guy. That could be kind of exciting to root for Murtka or whoever these draft picks end up. That's been the only thing about the Sabres that's been kind of enjoyable is the hope you get with new draft picks and all of that. But obviously that's different now. Well, we don't know yet where this is going to end or when, except that it'll have to be resolved by Friday. Hopefully we don't have to wait until Friday.
Right.
We talked to Paul about it, and he had a lot of great insight on what this player could do for the Sabres and just what else might happen as well. So we'll have that for you coming up. The Sabres are next in action tomorrow night in Pittsburgh. Rematch of a game right before the break. The Sabres are only playing teams that they just played before the break, like Florida and Tampa and now the Penguins. But that'll be tomorrow night. Then they're home on Saturday and Sunday to Nashville and then Tampa Bay. Another clash between the top two teams in the Atlantic coming up on Sunday. Again, our chat with Paul on this, quote, trade for now. After this break, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.